Year to opponents.
Mm-hmm.
When opponents last year against the Rangers gave them an extra out, made a mistake, the Rangers absolutely pounced on them, made them pay. That's why they had so many double-digit run games last year, is that they were just pounding on every single mistake, and that's what the Phillies did to the Rangers today. The Rangers committed 4 errors, and every time that the Rangers committed an error, the Phillies were able to pounce on it, and they were able to capitalize. So this version of the Phillies reminds me a lot of last year's Rangers team.
And can we talk a little bit? And yes, I should, I don't want to drive right past that. The Rangers last year, absolutely fantastic. I think through this point, 34 wins thereabouts for the Rangers last year. So obviously a departure from where they were last year, and that seems very evident. But I do want to settle down on the errors in this game, because it wasn't just that they had a lot of them, which that's enough. It was where they were coming from that's been particularly kind of, alarming for me or dissettling, because you had 2 for Corey Seager. One of those was Marcus Semien just kind of dipping down and completely ducking out of a play. You had Dane Dunning throw one into center field. You had Nathaniel Lowe. These are guys, and I mean Dane Dunning obviously on the mound, but Seager and Lowe are guys that were, all-stars last year. These guys are very important to your defense, and they're typically guys that you trust in the field. And I think that's been the thing that's been fascinating to me. A team that was plus defensively last year all the way around, especially in this game, but not just this game, has looked really subpar, in fact, defensively.
I looked before the game today just to see where the Rangers were in the amount of errors, and they were in I think they were 11th in terms of the fewest errors, but the ones that they had today were very puzzling. The first one with Nathaniel Lowe just not simply catching a routine ball over to first base, and then Dunning throwing the ball into center field. If he throws it right on the money, the inning is over. The Rangers still have the lead. You had the Seager and Semien miscommunication. Then you had Seager had a ball go right through his legs, and these kind of things just seem to happen when a team's not going well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When a team is going really well, you're playing good, crisp baseball. But, man, when you are struggling and then it just seems like these errors just come out of nowhere, it's like, okay, this is the way you're going to lose tonight. And they're just in a really, really bad rut. They've just had a bad, 2-3 week stretch right now that they just can't seem to get out of. And it's not going to get any easier tomorrow because they got to go up against Zach Wheeler, who's, arguably their best pitcher. Ranger Suarez has the best numbers, but I think if you ask someone who's got the best stuff, it's probably Zach Wheeler. So they're in a really, really difficult spot right now. I guess the good news is, they're still within striking distance in the AL West. They're only 3 games out.
Yeah, thankfully the Mariners lose today, as well as the Astros if you're watching the other side of that, too.
Right. I mean, the Astros are only 2 games behind the Rangers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and the Rangers are in the right division because no one has taken off here in the AL West. And it seems like we say this every single night. You just got to fight through it. You got to come over the top of this. And eventually, I think this team will. This team eventually is going to, put up a crooked number in an inning and, get a big, 2-3 run home run instead of the solo home runs that they had here today. But they're just not playing good baseball. Simply put, they're not playing good baseball right now.
We keep talking about the Cavalry's going to be coming this summer. There are guys getting healthier. I heard Nathan Eovaldi was trying to pitch before the game. It was coming off of that groin.
Yeah, and we'll see when he comes back. But you get Dane Dunning back here today, and I thought Dane was okay. He hadn't pitched in about 14, 15 days, so that he was going to be limited with his pitch count. He was at 74, and again, you turn to the bullpen, and man, guys, Jonathan Hernandez and Yuri Rodriguez and Grant Anderson, they're just not major league pitchers. They're just not major league pitchers right now. I mean, Hernandez has the stuff too, but doesn't have the command. Yuri Rodriguez, I don't trust him, and Grant Anderson can't face a lefty. as Bryce Harper proved that.
Right.
So the Rangers have so many guys right now in that bullpen that just don't belong in a major league roster. I hate to say it, but that's the truth.
Yeah, and I think the frustrating thing is it feels like you've exhausted most of what your farm has available to you to try and remedy that at this point in time. And I mean, I could be wrong in that regard, but you then start asking how do you fix that, or how you go about, and this is where I still feel like I have deja vu, because we're going back to last year where you're going, how do you fix a bullpen early on in the season when it feels like the answer is mostly just wait till the trade deadline.
I mean, this is where the Josh Sborz injury is really a killer.
Yeah.
Because if you had the Josh Sborz that we saw in the playoffs, a healthy one, to go along with, Yates and Robertson, Jose Leclerc as well. Those are four guys then that you could put some trust into winning pieces. But right now, the Rangers really only have two winning pieces in the bullpen when it comes to Robertson and Yates. And, if you're behind, you can't allow them to get into the ball game, because you don't want to use them in a game that you're trailing, because when there's a game that you're ahead, you want them to be available in that game right now. So, the guys that they have just have to perform better. It's simple as that. The guys that they have simply have to be better. And again, this Rangers bullpen, the ERA coming in tonight was the worst in baseball at 5.05.
Think that gets any better tonight?
It's going to go up tonight, guys. It's going to go up tonight. And here is the one that's really the alarming stat. The last 10 games, Rangers relievers have inherited 25 runners. 19 of those 25 runners have come around to score.
Wow.
19 of 25.
Wow.
That is what, 76%?
Yeah.
If math is correct.
Damn near all of them.
That's
nothing
terrible.
good. I
That
mean,
is an awful number
Yeah.
when you're allowing 76% of your inherited runners to come in to score. And tonight, they inherited 4 runners. All 4 runners came in to score for Philly.
And
And
it happened very quickly, too.
And on the other side, offensively, the Rangers can't seem to get any scores above 4. They can't score more than 4 runs.
Yeah, it's 11 in a row.
Which is wild, because we talked about this last night. This felt like an opportunity. There was a window for you with Taijuan Walker not being not having a great ERA, being a guy that throws into contact. 4.91 ERA coming into this one, and they got a little bit of something. But you mentioned it was really solo shots. It wasn't building anything. And that was the big disappointment for me, because I was looking for an opportunity to kind of get those bats going. And there was a couple of guys, Semien, Seager had some hits, which I guess is nice, seeing those guys who you anticipate being the tent poles of your lineup. But I was hoping to see a little bit of a jump start in a way, and that's not what we saw tonight.
They had chances. You get the first 2 guys on, nobody out in the first inning, and you get one thanks to a 2-out hit, and in the third innings, looked like you got a chance for a big inning. Seager's over at first base, and Garcia rips one down the left field line, but it was played perfectly by Marsh, and he threw out Seager at third base on a perfect throw. So, instead of having runners at second and third and only 1 out, you got a runner at second and 2 outs. It's just those kind of things, guys, that when things are going bad for you, those things work against you, and you give Philadelphia credit for making those plays and making some pitches at times. But certainly they had Walker on the ropes and just could not deliver a big knockout punch.
Is there any way that we can, duplicate Josh H. Smith, or cut a lock of his hair and distribute it across the roster? Because it seems like he's the only one who can hit with runners in scoring position. 2 of 9 for the team, and both of those hits came from Josh H. Smith.
Yeah, both of those were 2-out RBI hits from Josh Smith. And again, we talked so much about missing Josh Young. Josh Smith, imagine where this offense would be without Josh Smith in the way that he's played in the first 50 games of the season. He doesn't have the power that Josh Young has, but he's delivered up some big hits and a pair of 2-out RBI singles in this one today. So he's been really good. They just, Seager is locked in right now.
Yeah,
that's the good thing. Corey Seager is locked in. It was good to see Adolis Garcia back as well. He hit the ball hard a couple of times in tonight's ball game as well. You need to get both of those guys hot together. You need to get Semien hot. Get the top of the order.
Leaders.
And Nathaniel Lowe is really scuffling right now, guys. He is really scuffling once again. And
he needs to grow back the mustache.
Maybe that's it.
Something.
Maybe that is it. But he took an offer, and if he's hitting third and he's scuffling, to have him hitting in between Semien and Seager, I don't know what the answer is of who would go up into the number 3 spot right now. We saw Lowe hit 6 last night with the lefty pitching, but Nathaniel Lowe just not giving the Rangers much right now offensively.
You did mention it, and it was notable during the course of the game as it was happening. Adolis Garcia, some hard hits, but some of them just finding gloves, beelining straight to players in the defensive outfield. That's got to be like a positive if we're looking for silver linings. Adolis Garcia hitting the ball hard, you imagine that's going to find grass.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a big weapon that, when he is on a hot streak, he can carry a team for a while.
And his passion, it's infectious.
True. Yeah,
also
absolutely. His defense, we can, that hasn't been very good this season, but just getting him back and putting him, your lineup looks a lot better when Adolis Garcia is in there rather when he is not in there. And when it comes to Evan Carter, guys, is Bruce Bochy ever going to allow him to try to hit against a lefty? They pinched hit for him in his third at bat when they brought in Matt Strahm. I mean, what? I mean, this whole Evan Carter thing right now is a little bit alarming. He's not playing well, not hitting well, not even getting an opportunity now to hit against a left-handed pitcher. When Robbie Grossman is being pinch hit for him, it's like, I understand Robbie Grossman hits left-handed pitching, but eventually, don't you have to give the kid a shot to hit left-handed pitching? I know he's 3 for 27 this year against lefties.
But at some point,
either send him down to AAA, let him play every day against left-handed pitching, or throw him in the lineup against the lefty. Give him an opportunity to hit against the Matt Strahm today. Let's not make no mistake, Matt Strahm's not Sandy Koufax.
Right.
I mean, I was surprised that they pinched it for him there.
And I mean, that's a good point. If you get to that point where you're like, all right, let's try and get him some at-bats at AAA to get him going, what does the outfield look at that point? Because the outfield has been an issue on both sides of this when you talk about at the plate and also in the field.
Yeah, I mean, you got Derek Hill up here, and, he had the big game last night, didn't do much in this one here today. But the Rangers,
0 for 4, 1 strikeout.
Yeah, the Rangers were looking for a lot from Evan Carter. And maybe our expectations were too high for him after the way that, he played last year in September, and of course in the playoffs as well. But I can't imagine that kid's confidence is all that high right now.
Right.
I mean, he is really, really struggling right now here at this level. And the average is right around 200 right now for him. So
201 to be exact.
Yeah, it's not good right now, boys. It's not good.
Well, I know this off the top of your head, so it's probably not fair. What's the Rangers' record, or how well are they doing day games or getaway games?
Day games.
That's what they got tomorrow.
Let me see.
In other words, I'm trying to figure out, can they catch the Phillies sleeping?
Well, the tough part about catching them sleeping is that they'd be sleeping with Zach Wheeler on the mound, and I don't know how much sleep that actually is. I feel like that's eyes wide open in that instance.
It doesn't have it here on what the Rangers are in day games, but I'm sure they're probably right around 500.
Yeah.
Game here, game above, game below. That's where this team is right now. They're 2 games under 500. And now you got to face Zach Wheeler tomorrow. And, when you lose 2 out of 3 to the Angels like the Rangers did, you knew that the Phillies were coming. This is what you were worried about.
Yeah.
This is what you were worried about. And now you need a big outing from Andrew Heaney tomorrow. And again, Phillies are rolling. Phillies are just a
best team in baseball.
They're just like the Rangers were last year, 1 through 9 in that lineup. Sosa, the number 8 hole hitter, hits the big 3-run home run. Again, as I said it before, 2024 Phillies remind me a whole lot of the 2023 Rangers.
The Phillies have now won their 5th straight game, 17 of the last 20, 21-8 at home.
Yeah.
It's just dangerous.
They're good. They're really good.
Yeah.
They're doing it without Trey Turner right now.
Yeah.
Who's injured.
Easy to forget, yeah.
I mean, you put Trey Turner in that number 2 hole spot, and it's like, man.
Yeah.
They're good.
They're locked and loaded.
And you're going to get another opportunity to look at this good baseball team, and it gets even gooder, for lack of a better term, with Zach Wheeler on the bump for the Phillies. Andrew Heaney going for your Texas Rangers, a 12:05 first pitch, 11:30 pregame right here on your home of the Texas Rangers, 105 through the fan. Mike Peasley, we appreciate you always joining us for Extra Innings, brought to you by Uber Eats.
Delivering home run deals to your front door all season long.
We appreciate you delivering us a little bit of a conversation about these Rangers, especially after a game that was a little bit tough to watch. Hopefully we get a little bit better. But still,
it is always great talking baseball with you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Yes, indeed. That will do it for Extra Innings on this evening. We're in the midst of a really hotly contested Western Conference Finals Game 1, this time in the NBA. Tomorrow it'll be in the NHL, but right now, the Minnesota Timberwolves have a 1-point lead, 83-82, 20 seconds left in the third quarter. So we'll keep going there. We'll keep our eyes there. We'll keep you updated as we get into the Get Right coming up next. But coming up next, let's preview tomorrow's Western Conference Final. What are you expecting to see in Stars Oilers Game 1? 877-881-1053. Hopefully a whole bunch of those for the guys that wear the white sweaters, or I guess the green sweaters. No. Yes, green sweaters.
They're at
We'll talk about that and more next on The Fan.
The Fan is on YouTube, Twitch, smart speakers, or any mobile device.
evening in the Metroplex. I almost forgot what day it was. It's already
a blur, man.
It's already been a blur. We've just started what will be a good long stretch of playoff sports for DFW teams every single night, and we are really in the midst of it as the Dallas Mavericks currently trail the Minnesota Timberwolves 86-83. Of course, Minnesota on top. 11 and a half minutes left in the fourth quarter. So we got a whole period of basketball to be played here. And it has been quite interesting to see. Get involved with the program by texting in to the Frankel & Frankel Injury Attorney text line. That number is 877-881-1053. We also see you on YouTube. Shout out to Jamanch 214. I don't know how to say that. Jam Anch. I don't know. I'm trying. Let me know how to say your name properly so I don't keep butchering it.
Yeah,
but I appreciate your kindness
for him.
I appreciate your kindness on the YouTube. In addition to Lil Dallas Cowboy, David Sullivan, all y'all hanging out there. And we're also available on Twitch, twitch.tv/DallasFanCam. Brad 8098 saying that the Mavs are talking about the Rangers. Actually said that this team will be third place by June and they'll be sellers at the deadline. I don't know. That feels a little much, but it doesn't feel good right now. The Rangers fall 11-4 against the hottest team in baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies.
Well, when you're not playing well, there will be people who pile on, and then some people also are sarcastic.
And to be fair,
even if they say they're like, oh, he's going to lose 100, they may just be being purely sarcastic because there's something.
That's probably. I mean, it's possible. We ride the roller coaster, man.
That,
The emotions take over at times.
But it's a long season.
It is a long season. For the Rangers, they're still early on. For the Mavs and Stars, they're near the end of this thing, and it's going to take
near the promised land.
I like the way you put that.
Both of them are 4 wins away from going to the finals.
That's right.
Of their sport.
And so let's talk about the Dallas Stars. In fact, we did this last night. We previewed the game that is on right this moment and tried to give you an idea of what we expected. So let us know. What do you expect in Stars Oilers game 1 or in the entirety of the series? Because look, man, this is going to be a huge one. Obviously, it's the third time in 5 years that the Stars have been in this place, and you want to be able to make it to the final, give yourself an opportunity to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup. And so what's going to need to happen, or what would you like to see, and what will happen in this series? We talked about it yesterday. We kind of gave our predictions. I think we're both Stars in 6.
I didn't say my prediction.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, so I'm just putting my prediction on you here. That's my bad. Did I say Stars in 6?
I don't know. All I know is we were talking about Mavericks,
and I said Stars in 6 yesterday.
Excellent.
Yeah, I don't remember me saying.
Stars in 7, I think, is what I said.
I said Mavs in 7, and I didn't say Stars.
You know what? It doesn't matter. Let's talk through it. I know that when it comes to like the odds, The Athletic places the odds in the favor of the Edmonton Oilers slightly, giving them a 53% chance of winning this series. But
you know why they're saying that?
Why is that?
I'll tell you why. Because the Stars, these last 2 rounds. By the way, I give the Stars a lot of credit. They have vanquished the last 2 Stanley Cup champions in a row. All right. The first round, they knocked out the Golden Knights, who won it last year.
Yeah.
And they knocked out the Avalanche, who won it in 2022. So they've knocked out the last 2 Stanley Cup champions. So I'm giving them credit on that. And they've also knocked out teams that have different styles of play. This is why they're probably saying Edmonton's got a chance. Do you realize, like the Dallas Mavericks this year in the playoffs, Stars can't win the first game of a series. The difference is the Mavericks have been on the road to lose these games in the first game of the series. The Stars have hosted the opposition and lost those first 2 games. It's like, what? The first games of the series, like, what? So I'm sure that's what some of the prognosticators are saying a little bit. And plus, Edmonton, they're so streaky. And when they're on, they're on. Right now, they appear to be on.
Yeah, and one of the things that they do incredibly well, they are really good at special teams. It's one of the things that we talked about, and that has been an advantage for the Stars in the first 2 rounds. As of right now, it does not seem like that will be the case into this Western Conference final. They are fantastic on the power play. They are fantastic on the penalty kill. And so I think this series evens up a little bit more in 5-on-5 hockey. So as much as obviously in the past and in any hockey series, you want to limit the amount of penalties, it's going to be, really paramount in this series for the Stars to not give the Oilers opportunities to have a man advantage on the ice, because this is a team that's done really good at converting when they do have that.
They have the best power play and the best penalty kill numbers in this year's playoffs across the board. Nobody's better than Edmonton. The Stars have the best goalie.
Absolutely.
But guess what? Edmonton has the best player in all the NHL this season.
Yeah, when you talk about Connor McDavid, which honestly he has not been, doing a ton when you talk about the
Only
points
2
of
goals.
this. And the goals, clearly, as you mentioned, 2 goals through the course of this.
And I think he's at
postseason for
19
them.
points.
And so it's been a lot of other guys in the course of this that have shown up,
which is what it's like. That makes it even more dangerous.
Yeah, and so in some ways you kind of need a low event style, as the Stars have kind of tried to do. But yeah, man, you need to lock this thing down for the most part, and some of that's going to be incumbent on obviously the defensemen. Chris Tanev has been a huge one, but also Miro Heiskanen is always going to be important. Ryan Suter, you have guys that have played very well defensively. However, it's going to be a collective effort. It's going to require your forwards to also dig in, block shots, be defensively inclined, because this is a really good offensive team that you're going up against, particularly, obviously, as we mentioned, in special team situations. So, yeah, no, absolutely going to be important to kind of try and make this game a lot less flowing for them and make sure that they are not in the opportunity.
Half ice.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to be them. You don't want to see them getting up and down the ice quickly.
By the way, the Stars probably may be a man down again. They're so vague on upper body, lower body. Rope Hintz.
Yes.
They're still not saying. They did say he did a little one-on-one at practice earlier today. They didn't say.
Oh, did he really? I saw as of Monday before the mandatory team practice.
He didn't participate in the full practice, but they said he skated before the rest of the squad, and he's listed as day-to-day.
Him as well as Yanni Hakanpää. Both listed day-to-day. Both of those guys could be useful, but of course, Rope Hintz would matter a good amount. I think also
he hadn't played in the last 2 games.
That's right. And he's an important factor when he is on for this team. If for no other reason, then, and obviously there's more reasons, but if for no other reason, then it helps set your lines and really establish the depth that you have. It's one of your strengths is that you can go all the way to your 4th line and feel like you have productive goal scorers and offensive, attack. And so if Rope Hintz is there handling that first line in the ways that he does, it kind of helps everything settle in really nicely. And so, I mean, it would be great if he's available, especially in game 1. But yeah, that's going to be a part of it. But you mentioned the goalies, man. The goalie play is always important when we talk about playoff hockey. And Jake Oettinger, obviously always going to matter in a big way. You trust him. You believe in him. He's one of the best in the league. And he has been playing well of late. He is the better of the two that you're talking about. But he has to be really strong. And obviously we talked about the idea, the top-end talent for the Oilers. He's going to see some shots. Obviously, if the defense helps him out, that'll be great. But he's going to have to handle his own. And you have to believe that he's capable of it. But he's going to have to go out and do it.
Exactly. He's going to definitely have to go out and do it. And again, this team, they've handled the best of the last 2 years. The Edmonton Oilers, they are, like I said, they're a juggernaut offensively. They have handled them in the regular season. They beat them 2 out of 3 times. But at the same time, you can't take anything for granted and just can't assume this is going to be like Colorado, where the Avalanche is going to skate up and down the ice and high scoring affair. No, believe it or not, when they knocked out Vancouver, they knocked them out by clamping down defensively. So, in other words, Edmonton is capable of playing some defense out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as the Athletic states, at the bottom line, Dallas has showed a balanced attack, as we talked about, and that they can outlast star power. This is going to be yet another test. Like it was with Colorado, it's going to be with Edmonton. You're going to have to, have your balanced attack outlast what is a talented top line, obviously headlined by Connor McDavid, the biggest name in hockey.
Yes, sir. So you're saying the Stars in 6. I'm going to say the Stars in 7.
Sounds good.
And Pete DeBoer is undefeated in Game 7s. Jason Kidd is undefeated in Game 7s. And Bruce Bochy is also undefeated in Game 7s. Let's roll.
Absolutely. Let's roll indeed. So hopefully your Stars can get a big win in Game 1. That'll be tomorrow evening.
They need to get back to the Stanley Cup Finals again. When was the last time they did it? They did it in the bubble. They did it in the bubble up in Canada in the year 2020. So again, come on, Stars, bring it on home.
That's right. And of course, if for nothing else, like, hey, play well at home. How about that, right? Like that's also something that
don't
we
lose
would
the
love
first
to see.
game tomorrow night. Please don't lose that first game.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. It's the Get Right here on 105 through the Fan. Appreciate you all hanging out with us But it seems like people might be a little occupied. I don't know exactly what could be happening that has people's attention.
Could possibly be. But there may be people driving, and we got you covered.
That's right, because, of course, we're getting ahead of the Western Conference Finals Game 1 in the NHL. That's tomorrow evening at the AC. But right now, at the Target Center in Minnesota, Western Conference Finals Game 1 in the NBA is happening. Your Mavs currently hold a 2-point lead, 91-89. Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, they are
just
leading
hit a 3.
They are leading the line. Absolutely, that's what put them up. Kyrie has 28 points, with adding in 3 rebounds, 3 assists as of right now. Luka Doncic 25 and 7, helping lead the line. Those guys doing a great job there.
PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford both have 10 points each. Derek Lively the second, 9 rebounds along with 7 points.
Yeah, it's been an interesting one. We'll try and break this one down once it does go final. But before we move on, someone on the Frankel injury attorney text line, 877-881-1053, texted in. They said from the 817, how about the Minnesota Pups jacking the 90s Mavericks court and jersey design? And I mean, I get what you're saying, because the Timberwolves have gone with a throwback, but it's their throwback from, I believe, the 89 season, where I believe they won like 22 games, but it was one of their early teams there in Minnesota. So this is actually a throwback for them. Just happens to be that similar designs from what the Mavericks have worn at times.
Yeah, a couple of years ago. Right now, the City Edition Mavericks are wearing black.
Actually, I think these are the Navy ones. They'll wear black twice in this series, I believe.
I'm not talking about tonight's game. I'm talking about their City Edition.
Yes.
Which is, because they're saying the Minnesota Jack there. That's their City Edition.
Yes.
The Maverick City Edition this year,
that's right,
is black.
Designed by Leon Bridges, correct?
Thank you.
And I think that you'll see that. You'll definitely see that in Game 6 if you get there. I believe you'll also see it in Game 2 or 3. Is it 2?
I think it's 2.
Okay.
I think they're going to go Game 2 just to break it out.
But they've already established all the jerseys for the series, and they do not intend on wearing white this series.
Nope.
It's either the navy or the black jersey for the Mavs.
Yeah.
And
they like that. They like wearing that black, especially in Game 6s, because those are closeout. We'll embarrass somebody.
Mavericks going on a little run here.
This is a game to steal, man, if they can.
6-point lead as of right now, 95-89 over the Timberwolves. Still 8 minutes to go in this one. And so we'll keep you up to date with what's happening there. So get right here on 105.3 The Fan. Coming up next, let's go around the NFL as we typically do on the Get Right. We'll do that next on The Fan.
Coming up Thursday morning on Sean and Bobby, you know what it is. Game 1, Mavs Wolves. We preview Game 1, Stars Oilers, and another Rangers ticket giveaway during the 720 Expressway. It's a Thursday morning on The Fan.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code MONTHFREE by May 31st. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Congratulations to the humble paper coaster, holding that cold, crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. The paper in that coaster could have been a coupon or a losing lottery ticket, but instead, it's a glorious pedestal for Dos Equis. Nice work, paper coaster. From where you sit, you're holding a winning lottery ticket. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Copyright 2024 Dos Equis, imported by Cervezas Mexicanas, White Plains, New York.
We get it. Between work, errands, and life's curveballs, laundry can feel like an endless battle. Bundles 360 offers pickup and drop-off with lightning-fast turnarounds. Visit bundles360.net or call 817-617-2273.
You get the most for your lease with an Autoflex lease, yeah.
If you want a new car for less, listen up. Leasing your new car is the best way to get your new car, any new car. That's right. When you lease, you can get a new car every few years. You can always be in warranty, and you'll save money. Autoflex Leasing is the leasing leader and is the #1 place to go to lease your car. Autoflex compares the top 50 lease programs in America, not just one or two like the others, so you can be sure you're getting the best lease. They call it the Flex Lease. Autoflex pays less for the cars you lease. They get the best rates, and they pass the savings and all incentives and rebates on to you. And do you know the best part? You can do it all over the phone. Don't waste another day spending too much for too long. Call Autoflex Leasing at 972-234-1234 or visit them online at autoflex.com.
Autoflex lease, oh yeah.
It's time to warm up that scoreboard and get ready to bring home the win with Specs. Specs has you covered with lower prices on all your favorite fan fuel. From craft beer, rare spirits, and world-class wine to chips, dips, and gourmet finer foods. And with same-day delivery when you order online or through the app, Specs is your MVP for the biggest score of the game. At Specs, the fun starts here.
Here's to you, cheers to savings.
Get 5 quarts of O'Reilly Full Synthetic Motor Oil and a MicroGuard oil filter for $31.99 at O'Reilly Auto Parts. In-store only, limit supply.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward, like banners, flyers, signs, and catalogs. Some even same day. And now at Staples, save $50 on your print purchase of $150 or more. Offer ends 6/1. Visit staples.com/print for details. Staples, your local print and marketing expert.
Lone Star Park at Grand Prairie, your exclusive home for betting in North Texas.
Right there down on the inside, coming to the wire.
Join us on Memorial Day Monday when someone will drive off in a brand new Ford Escape. We'll have great racing, live music, and family fun activities. The horses are ready. Are you? Visit LoneStarPark.com/tickets to make your plans today.
Mike Bassick with 105.3 The Fan. You have heard about the TrustedLab.com before. It is a Texas company with the highest quality CBD products. Many people say it helps with muscle and joint pain. Delivered right to your door. CBD is all natural and many use it before going to sleep. CBD is non-addictive and it is all natural. Go to the TrustedLab.com and see which CBD product is best for you. CBD you can trust. Use code FAN, F-A-N, for an extra 20% off your first purchase. TheTrustedLab.com.
Your favorite NFL team is getting ready for a new season of football. From OTAs to minicamp, the Odyssey app is your home for local sports talk and coverage all off-season long. Get updates on key storylines, rapid reactions, rookie reports, and more right on your smartphone. Plus, go back and listen to anything you may have missed live with Rewind. It's always football season on the Odyssey app. AUDACY. Download it today for free.
It's a Memorial Day weekend fan hang, complete with a one-of-a-kind party favor. Join us this Saturday as we team up with our Revolver friends at their brewery, 5650 Matlock Road in Granbury. And while they last, pick up a free one-of-a-kind Tolo Revolver pint glass. We'll watch the Rangers together, listen to some tunes, and enjoy some delicious Revolver. Presented by Alba Limo. For your transportation needs, think albalimos.com. Come party this Saturday at Revolver Brewery in Granbury with the Fan.
Back to the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. The upcoming segment is brought to you by Classic Chevrolet and Grapevine. They're the #1 Chevy dealer in the world with more Silverados than anyone else. This is Texas. This is Classic Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Relax and enjoy the difference based on new Chevy registrations 2023.
So Get right here on 105.3 The Fan. Reginald Datatula here with you alongside the 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Thanks for rolling with us on this Wednesday evening in the DFW or wherever you're listening. However you're listening, thanks for making us a part of your evening. So you remember when we went to break and I said that the Mavs worked up a nice like 6-point lead? Yeah, that's not the case anymore. 99-98 in favor of the Timberwolves now with just under 5 minutes to go. 4 minutes and 39 seconds to be exact. But yeah, some fruitless possessions, some kind of tough shots, and some good shooting by the Timberwolves in the last kind of couple of minutes of stretch of basketball here. Has it a 1-point game in favor of Minnesota.
The Mavericks and the T-Wolves are actually having a fun game to watch. The tempo is nice. If the Mavericks are going to steal this game and they still have an opportunity to do so, 4 minutes, 20 seconds left to play, 4 minutes, 39 seconds to play in the game, the Mavericks, if they lose this game, they'll only say, wow, if we only made our 3-pointers, because they've dominated the boards, 51 rebounds to 43. Offensive rebounds, 10-9. Defensive rebounds, 34-28. They've got 3 steals. They got 8 blocks, 11 turnovers, but then the T-Wolves have 7. The only thing they're not doing well, they're shooting the free throws pretty well. The only thing they're not doing well is hitting a 3.
Yeah, the
and
big thing
Kyrie's
that's happening. The big thing that's happening is, and they just flash it up on the screen, the Mavericks are plus 26 on points in the paint, but the Timberwolves are plus 39 on made 3-pointers. And so that's absolutely the math that's really making this tough for the Mavs as of right now. But of course, again,
They're
only down by 1 point.
Yeah.
So 4 minutes to
We'll
go.
keep you updated.
There, of course, we got to do that for you. So let's do what we do here on the Get Right and go around the NFL now. Get you some insight onto what's happening there. And if you are a draft nerd, a draft aficionado, a draft lover,
a draft aficionado,
there you go.
In other words, team building is a sport and you love to build those teams.
That's right. We have the location for the next NFL draft.
Oh?
Well, 2025 has already been established. In fact, where is 2025 again, now that I think about it?
Not in Dallas.
No, it is not in Dallas, but it is. Oh, that's right. They're doing that in Green Bay, Lambeau Field, in the middle of, in late April. Hopefully it's actually warm. Good luck to all the people that will go out there. However, in 2026, it'll be in another place that could be a little cold, but maybe not at this time of year. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania will host the 2026 NFL draft. And so, yeah, I'm interested to see where they host it. It's a city that is a hard working city, a real blue collar
Probably
city.
by a river somewhere.
Yeah, I mean it's got to. You know, you got all the rivers in the city.
And
you got to
those bridges.
accentuate that. But yeah, there you go. It's Pittsburgh. Is that? Do people travel to the draft like that? Obviously, I understand that like people that are working the draft, but like people that are going to watch it,
do.
It's incredible that they've made the draft into the spectacle that it is.
And Pittsburgh's kind of right in the middle of stuff. You'd be surprised the area, how quickly you can get to Pittsburgh if you're in Ohio. I've actually flown to Pittsburgh and driven down to West Virginia. Kid you not. To watch TCU play West Virginia. It is not that far from anything.
Yeah, that's how most people get to
Washington,
Morgantown.
D.C.
Yeah.
I mean, it's close to, believe it or not, it's close to Cleveland and Cincinnati. It's all right there.
Appreciate that.
In other words, Texas is spread out, but not that area.
Yeah, especially once you get to that Midwest and particularly into that East Coast. Yeah, absolutely. So maybe make some appointments to be there if you are one of those people that enjoys flying to the draft or driving or however you do travel there. And shout out to the big sports fan too, who said, just want to stop in and say hi. They're going to bed. Before the game's over, there's still 2.5 minutes left in that one. Also around the NFL, you know, the NFL's having their spring meetings and such, so they're having some big things being decided. This isn't a decision, but there was conversation around it, which made it interesting because Roger Goodell talked about the idea of a potential 18-game season. So obviously right now there's this 18-week but 17-game season. And everybody knows that the NFL wants to continue to add more money.
They do, but they got to work that out with the players.
They absolutely do.
And the owners got to give up some of these stupid preseason games that nobody cares about.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that they'd be willing to. I think the big hurdle is getting the players on board with, again, playing more football. But what Goodell said on 18-game schedule, he said, quote, the key thing for us is looking at making sure we continue to do things that make our game safer, which obviously it makes sense that he starts there because that's going to be the big issue that the players are going to have when it comes to enacting an 18-game season.
They better not add another Thursday night game.
Right.
That's the thing.
But that's part of where the money would be available for them. But he goes on to say, so we want to make sure that that hits the first boundary. 17 games is a long season, so we want to make sure we look at that and make sure that we continue the safety efforts. You've seen a lot of the outcomes of that. Kickoffs are a good example of that. Hip drop. So we're going to continue to do that. That's number one. Working with our players in the association is two. Again, He's letting you know what's happening here. We would reach an agreement with them if we were going to proceed with that. But also third, and this is not necessarily in order, is the quality of our game. We would do that in the context of reducing the number of preseason games. We think that's a good trade. Less preseason games, more regular season games, and I think most anybody would think that that's beneficial. But again, those other two factors are important. So again, he lays it all out. What's going on there? Let's take it from the three aspects that he's talking about. The idea of the safety of it. Do you think that it's possible to add another game and for it to remain, to remain somewhat near safe, especially when you consider the things that they've tried to adjust to in the safety aspect when you talk about making the kickoff rule and then also, getting rid of the hip drop and things of that nature?
The only logical thing I could think to make it seem like, okay, it's just as safe as what you've got right now. Everybody knows the last preseason game is where all these rookies and free agents try to make the team, and you usually don't have the starters out there very long because you don't want anybody to get hurt in a game that doesn't mean anything, right? Well, if everybody's trying that hard on that game anyway, then you could logically say, well, guess what? They're trying that hard anyway. That's going to be the game. It might as well count, is what I'm saying. That's the only backwards logic I could say other than, if you add another game, every game is dangerous.
So there's the danger aspect of it, and then there's also the quality that he brings up. And I think that this is something that we talk about. We saw that happen when we went to 17. You see the ways that it stretches, especially when you only have one bye week. I imagine they would try and add another bye week, but then
I think it's the Thursday thing that just destroys it worse than anything. And again, they used to have 4 preseason games. Come on, man.
Right. And then
they used to have guys playing them, all of them.
Right. And I think also when you talk about that, one of the beauties of football is that it's not a long schedule, right? And so that also adds to the entertainment value. Does that 18th game change the math on how important and how how urgent every game feels? Because that's one thing that we're gonna see happen, and we talk about with basketball and all these things. We're in the middle of the season, it feels like it drags because there isn't that same urgency.
The only thing I could think of again is if you're replacing a preseason game. And I'm not looking at it like, okay, we'll add this game and the game start after Labor Day. I'm thinking if you're going to add a game, you start the season in August. Otherwise, you're going to have a Super Bowl March 1st. Right now, believe it or not, it's on Valentine's Day.
Right.
People forget about that.
But regardless, as of now, that's not something that's going to happen. It's just
theoretical.
You can tell it's something that the NFL is angling for.
Boy, the union, they have a talking point right there. Give us another percentage more.
Yeah, and
they deserve it.
They do. But
every game is like a car wreck.
The tough thing for them is that the negotiation in those things, it's usually tough for them to get the whole group unified and to be able to extract
a lot
what
of
they
people,
want.
And they don't have long careers, which is why you can't get, a lot of guys like, I got to get their money now, and they'll just kowtow, and the owners just get richer.
So we're continuing to go around the NFL, and we talked about some of the things that have happened at the spring meetings for the NFL. One of the things that happened yesterday is that NFL owners approved a rule that limited the length of head coaching interviews, particularly with candidates whose teams are still in the playoffs. So previously, there was just kind of no limit when you talked to a coach that had a team that was in the playoffs. So I know that this pops up when you talk about the Cowboys, because especially for you, CA, you don't feel great about Dan Quinn and his interviews that he did and the ways in which that might have taken him away from the task of making sure the Cowboys were ready to play the Packers.
That was not my opinion.
Okay, well, but you did bring it up a decent amount.
No, the only thing I brought up was that Dan Quinn he changed his style.
Fair enough.
I didn't say that he was distracted by anything. I thought that he just decided, you know what, since all these disciples of Kyle Shanahan own me, I'm 0-9 against them, I'm just going to change up my defense.
Fair enough.
And he did, and the team, that was part of it. It was the biggest part of it, and I was like, why would you do this when you won 16 straight games at home?
Right.
Why would you do that when you don't have to? You adjust if you had to. And it drove me crazy.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't want to misrepresent you, but I know that was a topic of conversation just overall then. The idea that maybe he was not properly focused.
Not for me, though. But yeah.
Sure. But now the rule is going to be put in place that such interviews with coaches whose teams are still in the playoffs are limited to a maximum of 3 hours. So you can only take 3 hours with a coach, a prospective coach in that situation. Good rule in your perspective?
Yes, because I don't want, you got to focus on the task at hand. And you don't need the distractions or even a hint of distraction. Even low key, that stuff still goes on. And you just do talk to management level people.
So there you go. That's happening. And finally, before we go around the NFL, the NFL's Kansas City Chiefs. They had a first-round pick named Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver out of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
He's sitting out of OTAs. He has a hamstring strain as of right now, and so that's keeping him out of these voluntary organized training activities. I don't know if that's going to be something that matters for him through the course of the season, but obviously when you have a rookie, all of these opportunities to get in and learn the playbook and then also develop a level of rapport with the quarterback and the coaches and the rest of their teammates always matters. So that's going to be an interesting thing to watch.
You're talking about a guy that's going to miss some OTAs. How about locally up in Frisco, Cowboys tight end Luke Schoonmaker from last year, who was hurt all last year? He's going to miss the rest of the OTAs because he's got a hamstring as well.
That is correct. Yeah, Mike McCarthy told reporters that earlier today. So Luke Schoonmaker not participating in the OTAs, which is going to be tough because he seems like he needs it. He did not give you a ton in his rookie
so crazy.
year.
I hated. Don't get me wrong. I didn't hate the draft pick, but I thought it was a waste because I already thought our tight end situation was fine.
Yeah.
I really did, and as you can tell, Jake Ferguson ain't giving up that job.
No, he's played fantastic. So, but second round pick,
That's
Luke
what I'm saying.
Schoonmaker.
Second round pick.
That's right. So there you go. That's around the NFL here on the Get Right on 105.3 The Fan. Right this moment, your Dallas Mavericks lead 106-102, 17 and a half seconds left in that game.
The steal is almost in place.
So when we come back, we'll give you an update as to what happened and break down game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, and we'll do that next on The Fan.
More and more of you are turning us on and leaving us on. #Tolo, baby. Thank you for listening to 105.3 The Fan and our Odyssey app presented by Comerica.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped.
Hey, this is Bobby Belt. Summer is coming up, and before you know it, your life is about to get super hectic. So let's get some of those items checked off your list today, starting with a cleaning with Kissable Dental. They'll make you and your family's teeth fresh and clean and ready to shine for all summertime activities and pictures. They're kicking off a yearly whitening program where you get 12 Zoom whitenings for the low price of $600. The other guys around town are going to charge you almost $5,000 for the same program. Kissable is looking out for your smile and your bank account, so let's get you Kissable. Book now at KissableDental.com. Your Kissable journey starts today.
This is the exclusive home of Dallas Cowboys football. KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas, Fort Worth. Let's go, Cowboys.
An Odyssey sports station.
It's time for The Get Right on 105.3 The Fan.
Yes, indeed, it is the Get right here on 105.3 The Fan. Whee! My name is Reginald Atatula. I'm joined alongside by the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Appreciate you rolling with us on this Wednesday evening in the Metroplex. We are in the throes of a wild Game 1 finish in the Western Conference Finals of the NBA. Your Dallas Mavericks facing off against the Minnesota Timberwolves in Minnesota, Minneapolis, Target Center, where your Mavs have a 4-point lead, 108-104. There's 1.8 seconds left, and I'm sure you're asking, well, Reggie, it's a 4-point lead and only 2 seconds left. Clearly, this game is over.
But no.
It is not.
No.
Josh Green managed to foul Mike Conley with 1.8 seconds left as he was getting off a 3-point shot. So Mike Conley steps to the line.
Thank God he missed the shot.
Thank God he missed the 3-pointer because this could be a free throw to tie. But he will step to the line to try and make 3 free throws with the opportunity to maybe get this thing really close and make this very spicy at the very, very, very end of regulation.
Here's what's interesting. When the Mavericks beat the New York Knicks in overtime and Lucas scored 60-something points at the American Airlines Center, he missed the second free throw on purpose, got his own rebound, put it back in. And that game, in other words, there's a chance he's already made 1 free throw. He makes the second free throw, he'll be down by 2, and he can miss the last one on purpose to give them a chance to tie it up to overtime is what I'm saying.
Well, he won't get that chance because he misses the second free throw. Well, so, I mean, at this point, it does feel like he's going to have to, I don't know. Can you miss intentionally because you have to try and go for a 3?
You have to miss it intentionally and get the rebound and kick it out to somebody for a 3. They practice these things all the time.
That's a lot to ask for.
It's a hell of a, that's your only chance.
Yeah.
You cannot just make it. You got to miss it on purpose. Hopefully your big guys get the rebound and kick it out to somebody because you got 2 seconds.
Speaking of big guys, both centers in the game.
And the Mavericks get
the rebound. Win. So the Mavericks win Game 1 for the first time in what feels like a decade. And that's not a joke. It's been quite a while. In fact, you were telling us the statistic before we got on air.
It's not just the Jason Kidd years. The Mavericks had not won but one Game 1 in a playoff series since they won the damn championship in 2011. They were 1-11. Now they're 2-11. The last time they did it was they beat the Clippers, Rick Carlisle's last season, in 2021. 2021, and that was a series that every team won on the road until Game 7, and the Mavericks lost it in Game 7.
So the Mavericks add a win in Game 1. They'll take the first game of the series. They'll start the series in a way because the series doesn't start until someone wins on the road, that happens tonight. And man, this was quite an interesting game. Like there's some games that are fun for various reasons. This was a very, very fun basketball game.
Yes.
For me, I think for like the tactical reasons, I was eating up what was happening tactically. But just to start, if the whistle, right? Because that is really important. This is going to be a defensive series with 2 really good defensive teams, and for the Mavericks, the whistle, the way that the game is called matters a ton for them. And this one seemed, I don't know, it might be something that we have to talk about over the course of the series. But yeah, it was a light whistle. They let them play. There was a point in time where we were looking at it and nobody was in foul trouble.
There was tempo. It wasn't like this is a raggedy game. Neither team was. It was not an ugly game to watch. It wasn't sloppy. Again, we're watching and trying to do a talk show at the same time. But the first half, we were able to watch that before we went on the air. Literally, this had flow and tempo. And the exciting thing for the Dallas Mavericks, what made the difference was Kyrie Irving got off in the first half. He normally scores most of his points in the second half and the fourth quarter. He had 24 points in the first half. He had 15 or 16 points in the first quarter.
Something to that effect. And yeah, I thought that was very interesting because you could tell that Kyrie, maybe this is just me reading too much in it, but it felt like he breathed a sigh of relief in this game because coming off of that series against the Oklahoma City Thunder, they were doubling him.
Yes,
they were showing him two bodies.
Playoff series he ever played in his life, and he won a championship.
Absolutely. They were showing him two bodies consistently. The Minnesota Timberwolves have really good personnel, and they did not go with that situation of doubling him. In fact, Anthony Edwards let us know after Game 7 in the previous series that he was going to take the challenge of guarding Kyrie. He wasn't the only one that guarded him, but one thing about it is Kyrie Irving with a single person guarding him is a lot different. He's got the dribble package and all those things, and he was it was very obvious that he was able to drive by whoever he needed to and getting to the paint. He started the layup line of sorts, getting to the paint, attacking the rim, and he was able to get going early. And I think that was something that I think a lot of Mavs fans were praying for and hoping for in all the way through this playoffs. You got your wish in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals.
Kyrie had 30 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Anthony Edwards, 19 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists. Luka led all scorers with 33, 6, and 8. He was believe it or not, a -9 on the floor. Kyrie was a +5. Anthony Edwards, a -1.
Yeah, and let's go there because I thought the defensive strategy for the Mavericks was rather effective. It seemed like they were not allowing. They were trying to make sure that the Timberwolves did not get all the way in to the paint. Like that seemed to be one of the things that they continue to do. Right, we're not going to let you get all the way to the restricted area, mind you. We're not letting you get all the way to the rim. But early on, it felt like the Timberwolves did a decent job of whether it was pick and roll or whatever actions they were doing, they were getting those guys into the middle of the floor where they could either create and pass, find somebody in the corner, or put floaters up. In fact, Kyle Anderson, nicknamed Slow-Mo because he moves at his own pace, he was doing some work in the middle. But the weird thing about that, and I think I noted this for
Anderson,
you.
by the way, 11 points off the bench.
Yes. And I think he had some assists in that as well.
Yes, he
serves as a pretty good connecting kind of piece. But one of the things, I mentioned this to you in the first half, it felt like with the Timberwolves, when they were running their offense with just those actions, whether it was a pick and roll or whatever actions that they were working off, it worked well. They tried to go to the Anthony Edwards isolation, and that didn't work very well for them. Now, Anthony Edwards in isolation, he's a solid player. He's not an otherworldly player in isolation, and the Mavericks were peeling in help early. They were showing bodies, showing help early. So you're playing one-on-one, but also to each side of that player, you have somebody showing off of, I don't know, the player in the corner or showing off the middle of the floor so that if you start trying to attack the right hip or the left hip of whoever's guarding you, most of the time it was Derrick Jones Jr., you're going to see Kyrie Irving, you're going to see P.J. Washington come over and trap you. And so I think that also neutralized some of his effect. Don't get me wrong. He ended up, scoring 19 points, but he was 6 of 16. It wasn't efficient. He was knocking down some threes, but he was not able to get busy in a way that you can maybe anticipate.
He only 5 out of 12 on the
typically.
threes. And by the way, the rest of the Mavericks scoring, because people are like, well, how do they win? Luka had 33 points. Kyrie had 30. P.J. Washington, 13 points, 7 rebounds, a +12 on the floor. Daniel Gafford, 10 points, 9 rebounds. And Derek Lively II, the rookie sensation, once again, very effective. 9 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, a +19 on the floor. Daniel Gafford, by the way, a -15 on the board on the floor. P.J. Washington, a +12 on the floor. As for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Dean McDaniel, second team All Defense NBA, 24 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists.
Yeah, and Jane McDaniels is an interesting one because he's one of those pressure points, I think.
He was guarding Luka.
Yes, and one of the things, he is a very good defensive player, but he is not Lou Dort. Lou Dort has that physical presence where he leans on you.
And Dort knows all the tricks.
Yeah, man.
Oh, my God. He can flop. He can flail. He can do dirty stuff, and they don't call it.
But, I mean, the biggest thing for me is he is a physical player. For Luka Doncic, who is a physical player. Jaden Daniels isn't that. Jaden Daniels is long, he's lanky, he's athletic, but one of the things that allowed Luka Doncic was able to do that, that snake dribble or that kind of hole dribble where he's, dribbles and gets that guy
his
on his
own
hip.
pace. Yeah,
right?
He gets you on the hip and
he
get that Gordat pick and it's over with.
He was able to get into his groove in that way, doing that. And so Jaden McDaniels defensively was not the stopper early on that
actually
maybe
was in the first half. Well, put it like this. Kyrie went off, Luka, because Kyrie was going off, Luka was on the bench a little bit longer. They were allowed to rest him a little bit more so he wouldn't get ball dominant and eat up a lot of minutes. And in fact, I want to say he only played he still played 40 minutes, but most of it was second half. McDaniels was scoring at will in corners. He kept shooting all these threes.
Yes.
Defensively on Luka only had like 14 points in the first half. It was all Kyrie the first half, which flipped the script for the Dallas Mavericks because that's not how they've been playing since March. With that being said, Karl-Anthony Towns, 16.7 rebounds. Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year, 12 points, 7 rebounds. He was a plus 10 on the floor. Mike Conley, 6 points, organizing the whole thing, 3 assists. Naz Reid, 15 points off the bench, 5 rebounds. And again, Minnesota had their hands full. They did not win the game. The Mavericks stole it.
Yeah, but before we get to talking about any of that, I did want to go back to Jaden McDaniels because offensively, if you're not familiar with the Timberwolves, Jaden McDaniels kind of exists as their PJ Washington.
Yeah.
Really good perimeter defender, but then also during the course of the season, he shot 33.7% from three.
But the playoffs.
Yeah, he's been shooting very well during
just like
playoffs.
PJ didn't do much in the regular season. Playoffs, he's standing on business.
Precisely. And so with that being the case, teams defensively, I think for the most part have said, we are going to dare that guy.
Exactly.
We're going to help
just
off
like
of him.
PJ.
We're going to help off of him. We're going to dare that guy to beat us. And Jaden McDaniels, all the way through this playoffs, I mean, he really turned it up in the latter parts of their series with the Denver Nuggets. But he showed out early in this series that he's also still going to knock down those shots. So
Exactly.
It's going to be an interesting thing to maybe see if they adjust to. But Naz Reid continues to be a thorn in the side of teams that he plays against. And if you're a Mavs fan and you follow this team, you'll remember there's a point in time in the season where Naz Reid buried the Mavericks in one of those games just because he knocked down a whole bunch of threes. And it's not just knocking down threes. He just seems to make plays when they need plays.
He knocked down his threes tonight, though. He was 3 out of 6 from long range. And overall, the T-Wolves shot a very, I want to say, is damn near 40% from threes. I have to look it all up. Point I'm trying to make is the Mavericks were not making their threes early, but the Mavericks were scoring in the paint, and they got a lot of contributions from everybody.
Yes. The Timberwolves, as you were talking about, they shot 36.7%. It kind of cooled off towards the back half, which absolutely helped. And the Mavericks, I do want to get back to this very positive.
Mavericks, by the way, shot 24% from threes.
Yeah, but they got down low very easy, and it was drives.
Exactly.
The big thing, obviously, that you think about when you talk about the defense of the Timberwolves, Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. They're playing what is called a drop coverage, where when that pick and roll happens, that big, in this instance, Rudy Gobert, is trying to sit back and give you that space if you want to play there, but he's not going to let you get all the way to the rim. And also, with the consideration of the rollers that the Mavericks like using, he's not trying to allow you to get that lob to them. The Mavericks were doing a lot of things to try and draw him out of that space. And even with that drop coverage, they were doing a great job of taking advantage of that runway that was given. And the Mavs, I think they got downhill in a way that even during the course of the series, this postseason, they've done a decent job trying to manipulate that and make that happen. This is the best that I've seen them get downhill, which is really a great thing for the Mavericks. And it's going to be a tough thing for Minnesota because you can't let a team attack the middle of your defense in the ways that I think the Mavericks did against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So it's going to be interesting because I think the very first kind of chess plays of this series looks like the Mavericks won that in my estimation because they were able to get downhill, and the different coverages that they threw at Luka Doncic did not slow him down. Kyrie Irving was able to get busy. Those are two things that you can't let happen if you're trying to stop the Mavs. And obviously for the Mavs, those are two things that you love seeing in game one.
Minnesota's going to have to make those adjustments. That's exactly what you're saying, and what they're doing on the TV right now. They're reviewing the play that I thought changed the game. This game's going back and forth. What I loved about this game, the Mavericks weren't down by double digits. And, oh my God, they got to climb out of a hole. This thing was going. The T-Wolves had the lead most of the first half, but this was really a back and forth game. But the reviewing over and over again is what I thought was the determining factor in this game. This game, the Mavericks took the lead 104-102, and a three-pointer was taken by Anthony Edwards, I believe. Cat came in out of nowhere and slammed it to tie the game. The referee said no, basket interference. They showed several replays. Because we're doing a talk show, I cannot, and we got a total of the texted in. Can y'all please explain why Karl-Anthony Towns' bucket didn't count? I don't know basketball. Please tell me. Only thing I can think of is they didn't have a review available to them, because they could have reviewed it, and because they've been showing it over and over again. It was a questionable call. That was the only questionable call. And again, because it did not tie the game, all of a sudden, Minnesota's in desperate mode, and they're jacking up threes, and they need to.
And then on the off chance that you're not familiar with the basket interference rule, no player can touch the ball while it's still in the cylinder above the hoop. So if you just imagine, just like the goal line in the NFL, it goes vertically from the hoop. Straight and if a majority of that basketball is still within that imaginary cylinder, and you touch it, it's ruled basket interference. And if it's the defense, obviously that means the basket goes. If it's the offense, that means it's a turnover. Yeah. And in that instance, that's what they ruled there.
That's what
you're saying that you saw that it was not.
I'm looking at all these replays over your head, and it's showing that basketball was slightly outside of that cylinder. And that's why I was like, thank God the Mavericks won that game, because that was igniting the crowd, and it just basically took the crowd out of it when they said, nope, that don't count.
817 says it was reviewed and confirmed, so maybe the Mavericks just got a good officiating instance. Which, hey, that happens.
We'll take that.
You absolutely will take that. So I thought it was a really interesting. There's a lot still. I think it's a meaty game because there was a lot of tactics. I was talking with our friend Kevin Gray before this game, and he was like, "Hey, what do you expect?" And I was like, "I have no idea." Right? Like, there's so many different things that can be employed. Both of these teams have a lot of ways that they can win basketball games. And now getting to see it, there was a lot of things that were there to kind of be played with and thought about. So there's still so much. It's a really dense game to break down. And there's a lot of ways that it could continue to go.
It does not mean that the Dallas Mavericks, now they're going to win it. No. Minnesota is so dangerous, and they're so long. And again, it's about adjustments. The Mavericks have taken home court advantage, but that does not mean that Minnesota can't come down here and regain it. I mean, you saw the Clippers win down here. You saw Oklahoma City win down here. You hope it doesn't happen, but nobody's expecting the Mavericks or the Minnesota Timberwolves to sweep this damn thing.
Super tight game. I think this sets up for the tight series that I think we all imagine. I don't think anybody's predicted this game, at least when we talk about like the quote-unquote experts, to be anything less than a 6-game series, 6 or 7 games. And you can see why. Right, both teams playing great defense, both teams having runs, both offensively, defensively, and ultimately the difference in this game is 3 points, 108-105 in favor of the Dallas Mavericks. They win game 1. Was there anything else that you felt was like super notable? I thought it was interesting that Jason Kidd, he opened up his rotation again. He didn't play everybody necessarily, or he didn't play everybody tons of minutes. Jaden Hardy got early minutes.
Yep.
Dante Exum got a few minutes here or there. Tim Hardaway Jr. shows up in this. Now, the impacts aren't there.
Josh Green.
This was still Josh Green got time. The impacts were really still largely Kyrie and Luka when we talk offensively, your bigs, and then, obviously your wings that you trust defensively in PJ and Derek Jones Jr. But he opened this up, and it seems like he is very cognizant of the fact that any of these guys can possibly help us. So let's start the series, getting these guys in the feel of it. We'll watch. We'll see who's making impacts, and those guys are probably the ones that get more minutes as the series goes along.
But like this, he showed them something they didn't expect, and I think Kyrie Irving showed them something that they didn't expect by scoring early and often in the first half. Let's see how they adjust to that. Let's see if Kyrie keeps that up, because he's the highest scoring fourth quarter player in the NBA this season. So if he's doing all that in the first half, that's actually going to flip the script on a lot of things that the T-Wolves probably thought to expect.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the tough things, and from the 972, this is very true. Jaden Hardy's 4 assists were clutch.
Yes.
That's one of the things that's been nice to see, is him being able to find his teammates in a way that I don't think that we've previously seen from him in big ways.
And he penetrates.
Yes, he does. He gets downhill. He gets into the heart of the defense. And I think that was the thing that was interesting to me. Kyrie and Luka, I mean, clearly both of them over 30 points, or both of them 30 or more points. That's something that you clearly want to stop. I don't know if the Timberwolves are going to be capable of it. Game 1, they clearly didn't. If they do find ways to, I know you're not going to stop them, but if you find ways to slow down Kyrie and Luka, in this game, you didn't get a lot of scoring from those other guys. PJ Washington, 2 of 8, which is okay. Derek Jones Jr. didn't really knock down shots at a high clip. Nobody else really knocked down shots in a big way. If that pops up, that gets interesting, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Ultimately, what needed to happen happened. Your Mavs get a win on the road, 108-105 in game 1. 3 more wins. 3 wins away, rather, from the NBA Finals. And so shout out to Jason Kidd breaking what would have been a little bit of a, I don't know if you want to call it a curse, but a trend of losing game 1s. Yes, right. That's right. And ultimately putting themselves, again, 3 games away from winning the Western Conference and
going to the NBA Finals.
There you go. There you go. It's the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan, celebrating a Mavericks victory in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Coming up next, we might talk a little bit more about this, but then also up at the Star in Frisco, it was OTAs happening. There was a lot of updates. Let's talk through the various updates when it comes to the Cowboys at organized training activities. We'll do it next on The Fan.
Through your phone, smart speaker.
alongside the 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Thanks for rolling with us on this Wednesday evening in the DFW. We just saw your Dallas Mavericks get a big-time Game 1 win on the road against the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. 108-105 was the final. Luka Doncic leading all scorers, 33 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds. Kyrie Irving put in a nice shift himself, 30 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds. Those were the main guys. Those guys got it done in the course of this game. It was fascinating to watch because, again, this kind of flipped it on its head. Kyrie got the bulk of his scoring done in the first half. Does that feel like something that's sustainable, or does that feel like just kind of a burst and with the way that a series shifts that maybe he bounces back to what he typically does?
Put it like this. If they decide to guard him the way Oklahoma City did, then it might shift. But if I were Kyrie and Jason Kidd, I'd keep doing it. And Luka has no problem with that. It's not like, wait a minute, I usually dominate the first half. No, it's not about taking turns. It's about trying to win the damn thing. And Luka loves Kyrie Irving. I've said this earlier for the last couple of months. Remember when the reporter after one of the games asked Luka, he said, you guys are like Superman and Batman. He goes, no, he's the Batman, I'm Robin. And I said, no, the better analogy is that Kyrie is Yoda because he's got the wisdom and he's been there. And Luka's like, tell me more, tell me more. Luka is Luke Skywalker. Yoda can still pull out that lightsaber and kick your ass. And Luke Skywalker has the lightsaber, has got the skills, but he wants to know more. How do I get the championship? That's their relationship as far as I'm concerned.
Well, they look to be peanut butter and jelly in this one. They worked incredibly well in this game. From the on the truck wreck the Franco injury attorney text line. That number is 877-881-1053. If you want to get involved in conversations. From the 214. Did Ant look gassed, and would that continue? I don't think that he looked tired.
So. No,
I think the bigger thing, and it's probably better in this instance, he looked a little bit overmatched in some ways. Well, and I'm not saying that necessarily it was just like he looked like he was not up to the challenge, but he got put in some situations defensively where this is a tough assignment, whether you're guarding Kyrie Irving or in some instances he found himself on Luka Doncic, and that is definitely a mismatch. He is not built for that at all because he has some quickness, but he doesn't have the quickness to stand from Luka Doncic, and he definitely doesn't have the heft.
Yeah, Luka, for those he's 6'8", 6'7", 6'8". He weighs 250 pounds. Come on, man. He goes where he wants to go. He dictates his own tempo. And Ant, he's a smaller guy. He may be younger, but he's a smaller guy. The other thing about it is he's much bigger than Kyrie. Kyrie is so damn quick. He's the most skilled player in the league right now. Arguably one of the most skilled players ever. And he's like, oh, you want some of this, young man? You want some of this? You think you got this? You can stay in front of me? You think you can? Shoot. Kyrie put on a show early.
And he showed that quickness because I don't think there was a single defender that did a great job of staying in front of him. Nobody. There were points in times where they did solid,
switches,
but I don't know that there was anybody that did a great job of just flat out not letting Kyrie turn the corner on them. That's a great sign.
Well, you say he's one of the greatest finishers in the game.
Absolutely, and I always say he's the best difficult shot maker in the league, and he did a decent amount of that.
You know what else he does? And I was telling you this before we came on the air. One thing I love about Kyrie's game in this day and age where guys flop and fall down and try to hunt for fouls, Kyrie doesn't do any of that. He just makes the difficult shot and he either makes it or he misses it or he gets fouled. It's not like, okay, he's expecting a whistle. He doesn't play for a whistle. And I love that. That's so rec center. That's so, you know what I'm saying? That's so old school. That's so Uncle Drew. Just saying it.
I mean, as Bill Russell once said, the game was, and always will be about getting buckets.
Getting buckets.
And that man goes out there
left
and
hand,
does
right
that.
hand, no hand.
I think also one of the things that I did find interesting, and again, we'll have more opportunities to talk about where this series goes from here. The Timberwolves were able to get to the middle of the floor a decent amount. Now, again, some of that was if you're trying to stop on the perimeter, if you're trying to make sure they don't get to the paint, there's going to be some middle ground there, but they found some of their, good playmakers, whether it was Karl-Anthony Towns sometimes on maybe like a short roll or what was Kyle Anderson. Also, when they found themselves in the middle floor, they were able to do some things, whether it was the floater or kicking out to the corners. And I don't know if Minnesota will continue to shoot in the way that they did, particularly in that first half. I know that it kind of eased back a little bit, but that's going to be something to watch. If you allow them to operate in the middle of the floor, they will have some opportunities to dissect the defense. Did. Yeah, and so that was something early.
Yeah, but SGA was the only one for Oklahoma City that was able to get away with that. They got several guys who could do that.
Yeah, so I think that was something early that I was a little concerned about. Obviously, the Mavericks were able to right the ship for the most part, but I did think that was something interesting. There we go. Big time win, game 1, where Luka and Kyrie Irving both combined for 63 points in this game, and it was necessary. All of them were needed.
Game 2, Friday night, 7:30 in Minnesota. Then they come home for the only 7 o'clock start. That's Sunday evening at the American Airlines Center. All the rest of the games are at 7:30 p.m. the rest of this series.
On the text line from the 214, any worries on Luka's bleeding knee? No. I mean,
it was bleeding all of the playoffs since he hurt it, except for game 5. I don't know what. He was so healthy and happy, and the knee wouldn't seem to bother him against Oklahoma City in game 5. That's the only game I did not see the knee bleeding.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it's not a good thing for his knee to constantly be bleeding. However, that's simply what he's been dealing with, and Luka's been toughing it out. And so I anticipate that continuing to be the case. Shout out to Mark 271792 that said, your turn tomorrow night, Stars, and that's absolutely the case.
That's right.
They'll get going their game 1 at the AAC versus the Edmonton Oilers. So that'll be a fun one. Let's real quick talk a little bit about OTAs, because we are also the home of the Dallas Cowboys. They are up there in Frisco doing some OTAs, and we got some updates from the various media folks that were out there. One of them, and this is always going to be a thing when we start talking about the quarterback, Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott both had comments about Trey Lance.
Oh, yeah.
And Mike McCarthy talked about kind of the advancement that's happened with Trey Lance. They've worked on his mechanics, his throwing motion, and obviously like getting him into, having the right drop and those types of things for a West Coast offense. They seem to be really excited about him, and they say that, obviously they're working for the preseason for him. There's going to be a lot of focus on him, and of course the reason why we hear this is because people are asking them, but does this feel like something where the Cowboys are situating themselves for some level of backup plan should they not be able to find something, get something done with Dak Prescott? One, that, and two, do you think that he'll be capable of it, or are you simply just in a wait and see mode when it comes to preseason, what he can deliver?
Say that question again. I want to make sure I answer it properly.
No, obviously, when it comes to Trey Lance, does this feel like a kind of a backup plan for if they can't get something done with Dak? And then also, do you believe that he's coming along well to the point where that's a possibility, or you just kind of want to see it on the field in the preseason?
Okay, I think people are conveniently forgetting there's a guy named Cooper Rush, who I'm not the hugest fan of. I just think Cooper Rush is good. But they know that Cooper Rush can hold it down if Dak ever got hurt. Not that he's going to replace Dak if they can't get a contract done. I truly believe the Cowboys and Dak Prescott will get a contract done. I think Trey Lance is just here in Jerry's, because remember, Jerry out of the blue just signed him. Remember,
traded for him, in fact.
Traded for him, yeah. Traded for him out of the blue last August. I just think Jerry's like, well, let me see if I can make Dak a little uncomfortable, because Dak think that, he ain't got no other. We ain't got no other options. You really don't have any other options, Jerry. I think Trey Lance might be good, and again, we haven't heard anything that he's doing anything wrong. I just don't think that he would be the one that replaces Dak Prescott, and I don't think that they're planning on doing that. I just think that, and I think that Dak Prescott knows, you know what? I have all the leverage in this situation. I'm going to get the money either here or somewhere else, and then they're about to let me go somewhere else. It's just that simple. And again, I'm not saying Trey Lance is a terrible quarterback, but there's a reason the 49ers let him go for a fourth-round pick.
Yeah, he hadn't played enough football yet, and at this point, basically he's gotten scout team reps thus far, so it will be interesting once we get to preseason.
And I only brought up Cooper Rush because, seriously, they know what they got with Cooper Rush. He can hold it down. You see where I'm going with this? I'm not saying, sure. I'm not even talking about long term. I'm just talking about if Dak were to sprain his thumb again.
Yeah, but I think that's that's like backup quarterback territory. And I think if the way that you traded for Trey Lance, it feels like that was a fourth rounder, wasn't it? Like I feel like
it was a fourth round.
You've put him in a place where you need him to become your backup quarterback this year. You need him to take hold of that.
This is the tricky part, and that you're going to watch him play in the preseason. but they know what Cooper Rush did in the regular season. Don't get me wrong. I like Trey Lance more than I'm not a Cooper Rush fan by any means, but Cooper Rush, quote unquote, earned his little spot. He knows his role. They bring him in and he doesn't lose a game.
Now, CeeDee Lamb, Zach Martin wasn't there either, but that was pre-planned due to family reasons.
Yep.
And
it's cool. Look, Zach Martin, for those who don't remember, last year had to miss out because he said, wait a minute, I done hook y'all up on contract extensions and all kinds of little things, and y'all not gonna keep me in top 5? What? I'm going to the Hall of Fame. What? You mean I have to miss? So he had actually missed part of training camp. And then the Cowboys said, wait a minute, you're Zach Martin. We forgot. So this year right now, no, Zach's fine. He's just family reasons.
Yeah, and CeeDee Lamb not there. Obviously, that feels like that has something to do with the contract negotiations.
Again, everybody.
DeMarcus Lawrence not there at this one, and then also Micah Parsons, obviously.
And Micah's doing some boxing stuff. The irony about Micah and the boxing stuff, Micah did an interview with Michael Gelkin with the Morning News when he was talking about him working on the boxing and doing these unique things alone. He was talking about he's trying to be a better leader. And it's like, well, why aren't you in OTAs if you're trying to be a leader? You want to share some of that? And again, I'm not knocking his style. I'm just saying, but you want to be a leader. Leaders are usually around at least the first day.
And this obviously bringing it back to the teams in the Western Conference Finals. Dak Prescott was asked about, the way that these teams are in the conference finals and, kind of what that does for them.
Yeah,
and
the local teams.
Yes, and he said that of them being, he said, it's not jealousy, but it fires you up. I want it for them. Go win it. Rangers did it. Other two, go do it. Put more bleeping pressure on us.
Yeah, it's like, don't be left out of the party. Everybody's happy with and again, Dak goes to all these games. You may not see him on the front row. He's one of the guys like to be in the suite. And the reason why he's like to be in the suite is because he really wants to watch the game and maybe hang out with his friends and his family. And he doesn't want to be rude to people. I'm serious. I've talked to him about this. He doesn't, if he's down low or in the crowd, he wants to say hi to everybody and not disappoint people. Shake hands, kiss babies, the whole 9 yards. So if he's in a suite, he can just totally relax. And this goes for Ranger games as well.
And I know that this is the stock answer for a quarterback, but I mean, look, people have talked about it in these ways. The idea of look, man, y'all the ones not carrying the slack. Rangers won the World Series, both the Stars and the Mavericks in the finals, or the Western Conference Finals, I should say. And he says, the pressure is there, and so the Mavericks continuing to add more onto the pressure. They get a big win in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals on the road in Minnesota, 108-105. Luke and Kyrie both 30-plus points. No triple-double in this situation, though. That is kind of interesting in it. But we'll have so much more coverage of this here on 105 through the Fan, your home of DFW Sports. It's the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. Coming up next, let's do a little sharing time, maybe talk even more about the basketball game. We'll do that next right here on 105.3 The Fan.
Coming up on the next KNC Masterpiece, all things Mavs T-Wolves Game 1, plus going into Game 1 of Stars Oilers, your official prediction. Join the short show, 10 to 11:30 a.m., leading right into Rangers baseball, right here on The Fan.
Navien tankless water heaters, the proven leader in condensing technology. Request a Navien because you deserve the best in endless hot water delivery. Learn about Navien's condensing tankless water heaters and find a Navien contractor at tanklessmadesimple.com.
Get right here on 105.3 The Fan. The upcoming segment is brought to you by Classic Chevrolet and Grapevine. They're the #1 Chevy dealer in the world with more Silverados than anyone else. This is Texas. This is Classic Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Relax and enjoy the difference based on new Chevy registrations 2023.
To get right here on 105.3 The Fan, Reginald Datatuli here with you alongside the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Thanks for rolling with us on this Wednesday evening in the Metroplex, where I imagine there's a lot of celebrations going on as the Dallas Mavericks get a big-time Game 1 win against the Minnesota Timberwolves, 108-105 at the Target Center in Minneapolis. Big performances from Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, and solid defense to make it tough on the Timberwolves at their home arena.
Jagon and Terrell, the Tolo from the 214, says you realize 7 more wins and the Mavericks will win their second title. Think about that for a second. 7 more wins.
Yeah, but I mean, look, you can't start looking ahead.
No, you can't.
This team doesn't either.
No, they don't. And that's the best thing about this team. I do want to say this. It's great that they stole the first one. But I'm telling you something. Nobody expects this series to be swept by Minnesota or the Mavericks. It's going to be a war. Both teams are evenly matched. The Mavericks, though, are the most dangerous team in the NBA. Western Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals, out of the final 4 that are left.
Yeah, they did show that tonight in handling business, getting Game 1. Ross, did you happen to see what I sent you?
I sure did.
Okay, fantastic. If you don't mind having that prepared as we get into sharing time.
Wait a minute. I got to tell you something.
Please do. It's sharing time. This is the time where you tell us stuff.
They just showed it on TNT. You know how they make funny graphics and things?
Mm-hmm.
You know how
Shaq'd in a fool.
You know how in the game against Oklahoma City, Chet Holmgren was trying to chase down Derek Lively II
That's right.
Get him on the free throw line. They had Derek Lively and Chet Holmgren running through the set on the they just put that little clip and had it running through the set to that big screen where Kenny always walks off to. It was too funny. They're showing him running through there.
Yeah. And they have all sorts of stuff continuing
That's
to happen.
clever. Damn shame they're leaving. TNT.
Yeah.
By the way, you see the t-shirt I'm wearing?
You're wearing a nice throwback NBA on NBC
Twitch,
t-shirt.
You have a Twitch, you can see this.
Yeah, you can see CA wearing an NBA on NBC t-shirt.
30-year-old shirt.
Yeah, man, and it'll become relevant again as it seems like the NBC is going to finalize being the third and final partner when it comes to TV with the NBA. So we'll have a return of the NBA on NBC. Last night we talked about how it seems like NBC has reached out to John Tesh, maybe get Round Ball Rock going again. But with that being the case, it seems like next season might be the final one of Inside the NBA, the show with Chuck and Shaq and Kenny and EJ. Will one of those other partners kind of poach them and try and do something similar? We don't know, but as of right now, that's what it looks like.
And that'll be the end of it'll be a year from now. In other words,
that's right.
It's not the deal is over this summer. It's like a year from now when it expires.
There you go. Let's do a little sharing time. Do you have anything that you wanted to share outside of your lovely NBA on NBC shirt?
Got a quickie.
Okay.
I saw this story and I was like, wow, I didn't realize this. They said the majority of Americans nowadays cannot drive a stick shift.
That is correct. Yeah, man.
Can you? I can. Don't lie.
I can't remember the last time. I don't think I have driven manual or standard, but
in other words, you don't know how to work a clutch.
In theory,
I think you could.
But I haven't put it to the test, so the answer is no. But I did want to make it like I understand like the process,
that means
but I haven't done it, right? So like I can't say that I have.
What about you, Ross? Have you driven a stick shift?
I sure have. I learned to drive stick on my stepdad's 67 Camaro.
Look out.
Oh, look at this flex.
There you go.
Yeah, that. And then, but beyond that, I've only ever driven like one other car, and I think it was like a Mazda RX-8. But yeah, it's tough.
You got to know. You got to use that left foot.
There were many a times where I literally were like in the car with my stepdad as he was teaching me at a light, and I just failed to like let off the clutch, like put on the gas at the right time, and literally just stalled. And we sat there for several rotations. It takes some time.
It takes some time. Franklin Injury Attorneys text line 877-881-1053. Can you drive a manual car? Can you drive a race car? Can you work a clutch?
Yeah,
or when was the last time you did so?
And the wild thing about it is just like it's becoming less and less necessary because it's such a small subset of the, I guess, population, for lack of a better word, of cars out there on the streets in America that are still standard. And so everybody's using a manual transmission pretty much. I mean, obviously, it's I guess technically easier.
Yeah, 469 says some of my favorite cars were stick. 214 says I have 2 co-workers who drive a manual car. Both of them are women.
There you go. So yeah,
it's a unique skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of like writing in cursive. There are elementary school students cannot write in. They cannot write.
You say elementary school. There are grown adults that can't write in cursive.
Isn't that crazy?
And in a similar way, I don't think you ever need to in life at this point, but it's just a thing that I guess if you know it, it's a thing you know, and that's worth something, I imagine.
They cannot understand the grades that the teachers mark on the side, the little notes.
I
on the
wonder
paper.
if you got to remember, like,
they don't even write on the notes, do they?
I mean, there's a lot of teachers, especially when you think about it. A lot of them are young, fresh out of school, and so I imagine there's probably a lot of teachers in their mid-20s. I mean, when was the last time that we were teaching cursive in full? Like, we might have teachers that don't know nothing about the cursive at this point.
You know, there's some people don't even write a check anymore.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't write checks anymore, thankfully, because my apartment complex stopped making me use these checks because they dropped that convenience fee, which is very inconvenient. You know what I mean? But that was the only thing I wrote a check for is for rent at that point, and so I have a checkbook. It has the address that I lived at probably like 3 abodes ago, but I still have some checks. I'll break out a check if I need to. But now the thing about it is writing checks is one thing. Balancing your checkbook is another thing.
They say Kevin Hagelin can balance a checkbook.
I think that's what he does for fun, right? If you're like, hey man, it's a Friday night, you ain't got nothing to do. Is there what do you think about doing? You got the house to yourself. I don't think I might go balance a checkbook.
We got a total 214 says some people can't read a clock.
A manual clock? Yeah, that's right. That is true.
Big Ben, they can't. What's the big hand, the little hand?
Right. I mean, it means something.
Things change. The 20th century stuff it's becoming obsolete.
That's how life happens, man. That's how life happens. From the 817, it's a manual transmission, not a transition. Yeah.
Transmission.
I think that's what we were saying. Unless maybe it didn't sound like that. Let's see. From the 903, Reggie, if you haven't driven stick before, you aren't going to get in one day. Trust me. I'm certain of that. Like I don't pretend to believe that by any means.
I get whiplash first.
Fair enough. Like I believe that I know what the process is. However, I understand that that's something that you need iteration. You kind of have to do it. Something that needs no iteration whatsoever is this thing that I found on The Guardian. That I was just flabbergasted that somebody tried to do this. And maybe it's because New Zealand is the Florida of the Pacific in that way, because apparently a New Zealand man was filmed trying to body slam an orca.
What?
So I don't look. If y'all wonder why these orcas, or I guess in sometimes termed killer whales, are out here hitting these boats, it might possibly be because people are out here trying to body slam them like morons.
Was this in the ocean or on the beach?
He jumped off a boat in the ocean, New Zealand man, and he was filmed doing this.
What?
And it was an attempt to body slam an orca. The country of New Zealand, rather, their Department of Conservation actually put out a statement that called them shocking and idiotic, which, yes.
Astutely put.
Yes, it is. So in the video that was on Instagram in February, there's a man seen jumping off the edge of a boat into the sea off the coast of Devonport in Auckland, New Zealand.
That's
and
the capital.
It was it was a deliberate effort to touch or body slam the orca.
How can he body slam a whale that probably weighs over 1,000 pounds?
That's
a crazy Kiwi. That's what they call those people from New England.
That's right.
New Zealand. Kiwis.
And I'm like, alcohol has to be involved here, right? Like, there's no way that you do this as a sane person thing. I'm gonna go and try and like frog splash or whatever onto a killer whale. That just seems like a very stupid thing to do.
I kind of have like a kind of a fear when it comes to like the ocean, just with
correct,
how deep it is and just how vast it is. And so like the whole idea of like being in that creature's element alone provides me with fear, but then like being like, you know what, I'm gonna go just body slam the dude, body check the dude, like the audacity.
Also,
I just can't imagine how. That's a big whale.
Oh, you're imagining like grabbing it. You're thinking like a suplex. You're thinking like he's gonna grab it and flip it over his back.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I don't know. It's an image that's hilarious, but then it's giant. You're not going to stand on nothing. It's in the water. But yeah, apparently the man could be seen in the video swimming back to the boat saying, "I touched it." And he asked, "Did you get that?" Which, buddy, I'm surprised that the orca did not eat you alive. Like, they have pretty sharp teeth.
Right. This takes one bite.
So yeah.
One bite. That's it.
Maybe Tillicum was right.
That's right. So if there's ever a time where you go, I don't know, I feel like I haven't made the smartest decisions, I ask you, have you ever tried to body slam an orca? Because if you haven't, you're maybe not making the absolute worst decisions. I can't say that you're making good decisions, but you can't necessarily say that you're making the worst decisions.
Okay, you compare this Kiwi from New Zealand to a Florida man. Does it sound like a Florida man?
Does that not sound like a Florida man type? Yeah.
So let me tell you how a Florida man would do this.
Okay, please do.
And here's the story would read. A Florida man went to SeaWorld.
Yeah.
Went into the orca cage or the orca water world or whatever.
That's right.
Decided to go in there and body slam an orca. That's what a Florida man would do.
Yeah.
Not in the big seas, just in the
park. Pen. Yes, that's right. From the 682, I have many questions for this guy. As do I. Like, what did you think was going to happen after that, right? Like, you clearly only thought one step ahead, which was jump into water. But, like, what happens after? Did you think about what happens after that? And
especially if it was just like, if it's like a mother with like her kin, that whale's probably going to get highly defensive.
Right.
Like,
I just, people can be dumb. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the Mavericks not dumb. Big time win against the Timberwolves, 108-105. They win game one, which they don't do very often, especially they hadn't done at all in Jason Kidd's tenure in the playoffs.
It's only been done twice since the championship in 2011. Rick Carlisle did it in one playoff game in LA against the Clippers in 2021, and then Jason Kidd just did it tonight. Again, the Mavericks, for some reason, it was kind of like at one point until the Mavericks blew out the Phoenix Suns in Game 7 in Phoenix, they could not win in Phoenix for like 8 years.
Yeah.
8 years. It wasn't like, oh, man, this team just can't beat Phoenix. The Mavericks, as an organization, could not beat Phoenix, just like the Phillies for like 10 years could not beat the Rangers.
Yeah, and unfortunately today that not necessarily changed. But
second times in a row now.
Yeah, they beat the Rangers 11-4 earlier today. But Mavs get a big time win. Their 5th road game in these playoffs, which is tied for the most in these playoffs. So a lot of road wins coming for your Mavericks, and they hope to add another one on Friday evening.
The other thing about the Mavericks, which is good to know, they have yet to lose 2 games in a row in the playoffs this year. So if you're seeing if it goes back, forth, they can win this thing. You see what I'm saying? Because they just have not lost 2 in a row in the playoffs this year.
From the 682, did he really just say a manual clock? If I did, I meant analog. It's getting late. But it is still the Get Right, here on 105.3 The Fan. And final hour of the show coming up as we're taking you to midnight. And with that being the case, we're going to get you some headlines on this evening.
You know what, Reg?
What's that?
Even a broke clock is right twice a day.
That's right. And if you don't like it, maybe I'm just a broke clock. How about that?
Analog.
Exactly. What this broke clock will get you is your headlines on this evening, the DFW, next on The Fan.
Through your phone, smart speaker. It's time for The Get Right on 105.3 The Fan.
Yes, indeed. Final hour of the Get right here on 105.3 The Fan. My name is Reginald Atatula, sitting alongside the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Thanks to Ross Lubinsky on the ones and twos, and you rolling with us. After the Mavs get a big-time win in the Western Conference Finals, Game 1. We'll talk about that and more in just a moment as we'll get you your headlines. Always get involved with the program by texting in to the Frankel and Frankel Injury Attorney text line, 877-881-1053. We're also got you on Twitch, twitch.tv/DallasFanCam, and 105.3 The Fan on YouTube. Let's get you some headlines on this evening. And, of course, we begin with the big happening of the evening. Your Dallas Mavericks getting a win against the Minnesota Timberwolves, 108-105. They finally win a Game 1. It doesn't happen frequently, and it is the first time that they win a Game 1 in a playoff series in Jason Kidd's coaching tenure with the Dallas Mavericks, and it felt very sweet because this was a fun game up and down against a team that was playing pretty well.
Yes, the Mavericks win this game 108-105. They took advantage of the fact that the Minnesota Timberwolves had to do a grueling 7-game series against the Denver Nuggets, the defending world champions, and they started off quickly. I love the tempo of this game, and I also like the fact that Kyrie Irving scored 24 points in the first half. He had been averaging through the first 12 games of these playoffs 6 points in the first half. That set the tempo. The Mavericks and the T-Wolves were close the entire game, and at the end there, the Mavericks had more than the T-Wolves. Mavericks win this game. Game 1 is theirs. They have now taken control of home court.
Yeah, and it was very helpful that it was a pretty light whistle. They let them play.
Yeah,
and the physicality that the Mavericks like using showed up. But I mean, also there was a little bit of a driveway to the paint and a driveway to the rim for the Mavericks, and of course Kyrie Irving started that, getting past anybody and everyone in his way, finishing in the way that he does, getting to the rim. I know someone on the text line said, someone tell Josh Green not to make bonehead plays late. That's one of the ups and downs of Josh Green is he brings that energy. He's a catalyst, but sometimes that energy needs to be reined in. Unfortunately, late in the game, with a 4-point lead, he fouled Mike Conley with an opportunity and put him on the line to shoot 3 free throws.
1.8 second left.
That is right. An opportunity to maybe cut the lead down to 1. Conley made the first, missed the second one, tried to intentionally miss the third one rather, and the Mavericks got the rebound to end the game. A fun game. Clearly, the defenses are going to matter in the big one in this series in a big way rather, and the coaching staffs are going to be big. This is very much going to be an adjustment-based series. The X's and O's are going to be brilliant and really fun to watch.
We are watching chess now, gentlemen and ladies. The Western Conference Finals, no one is thinking, oh, either of these teams going to sweep. So watch what adjustments the T-Wolves make. The next game is Friday in Minnesota. Then the series moves to Dallas for Sunday afternoon, Game 3. I say afternoon, 7 p.m. Tip-off on Sunday. The rest of the games, every game in this series is 7:30 p.m.
Yeah, which, I mean, much better than the 9 o'clock starts that we were getting.
Yeah.
So you'll have an opportunity to watch the game and relax a little bit before you get to bed, I imagine. Good game for Kyrie and Luka, both with 30-plus points. Kyrie, 30 points. Luka, 33 points. Luka had 33, 8, and 6, so not in that triple-double territory that we're typically seeing him, but that's fine. An interesting thing to watch, the Minnesota Timberwolves shot the ball pretty well. Jaden McDaniels was a big part of that as well. He had 24 points. He was tasked with guarding Luka Doncic, could not stop him.
No.
And so that'll be interesting to watch going forward. And Anthony Edwards put up 19 points, but not an efficient night for him, 6 of 16.
Right.
And the Mavericks showed him a lot of bodies, making it difficult for him to get into isolation. And if you really want to break this down into maybe almost a too simple way of looking at it, the Mavericks, big players, they have 2 closers, and they played like closers in this game. The Timberwolves have 1, and he looks like he's still learning in Anthony Edwards. It's Game 1, but it is 1-0 Mavericks.
Speaking of big players, and we're talking about size now here, the big guys for the Mavericks, Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively II. Gafford had 10 points, 9 rebounds. Derek Lively II, another tremendous game for the rookie. 9 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, and a plus 19 in the game. The highest plus-minus of any player on the floor.
So there you go. Mavericks back in action, as you mentioned, 7:30 Friday evening. And that'll be in Minnesota again. And you absolutely want to keep it locked right here on 105 through the Fan. All sorts of reaction, in addition to what we've done this evening, can be heard tomorrow, starting at 5:30 a.m. Sean and RJ, KNC Masterpiece at 10, G-Bag Nation at 2, and we'll be back at 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. Earlier today, however, unfortunately, your Texas Rangers fall to the Philadelphia Phillies 11-4. That in Philadelphia. This was really an opportunity that was missed in my estimation. Taijuan Walker was on the mound for the Phillies, and he's a righty, the first of a set of 5 righties that the Rangers will face, and he hasn't really necessarily been all that great on the mound. He pitches to contact, so it felt like an opportunity for the offense to kick off for the Rangers. Didn't really do so in a big way. 4 runs, a lot of them solo instances where you had a couple of solo home runs, maybe a couple of RBI hits, but no crooked numbers in any of the innings. Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, both had a solid outing. Semien with a couple of runs driven in, or a couple of runs rather. Corey Seager with a couple of hits, but still ultimately didn't hit well with runners in scoring position. And after Dane Dunning, who was returning from the IL, left the game after 3 1/3, the bullpen just let all hell break loose.
It was an awful game. The Rangers fall to 2 games below 500. Last night, the first time they were ever below 500 under Bruce Bochy. Rangers are now 24-26. The Philadelphia Phillies are on a historic pace. They are now 36-14. They had never in the history of the organization, and this organization, we're talking about the Phillies, they've been around since 1883. They had never won 36 games through their first 50. This is the most, these 36 victories in 50 games, this is the most in the National League since the Braves did it in 1998. The Phillies are so hot right now. They've won their 5th straight game, 17 of their last 20. They are 21-8 at home. They've won 17 of their last 19 in their ballpark. They were in the World Series in 2022. They thought they were going back in 2023, but they didn't make it. Arizona knocked them out. They're on a mission. And to show you how much of a mission they're on, when they beat the Rangers tonight and last night, it was the first time they had beaten the Rangers since 2014. And they're going for the sweep tomorrow afternoon at noon.
Yeah, I lied a little bit. I said the G-Bag Nation be on it too. They'll be on after
the game.
Rangers baseball, which 12:05 first pitch, 11:30 pregame here on your home of the Rangers 105 through the Fan. Another thing to note in the course of that game, I didn't want to forget this because it was definitely a notable 4 errors for your Texas Rangers. I think 2 of them Corey Seager's owned. So I know that Nathaniel Lowe picked up an error himself as well, and Dane Dunning threw a ball into the outfield. Just
raggedy.
Raggedy really is a word to use there. It feels uncharacteristic when you think of the team that you saw last year defensively. But unfortunately, that put them in a place to lose a game against the Phillies. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, 12:05 first pitch. On the mound for the Phillies, Zach Wheeler, who is a very, very good pitcher. He has a 2.52 ERA thus far this season. That's going to be a tough one for your Rangers. Andrew Heaney goes for the Rangers.
Yeah, let's see if they can do something about this power outage. I think it's 11 straight games now where they have not scored more than 4 runs. And it was exactly 4 runs tonight. They lose 11-4.
As we continue to get you your headlines on this evening, you mentioned power, and Barry Bonds is one of the best power hitters that you've seen in Major League Baseball. He's actually going to be inducted into a Hall of Fame this summer.
Oh?
The Pittsburgh Pirates Hall of Fame, which was, I saw that and I was like, I'm surprised that he was not already in there. However, he will indeed be inducted this summer into the Pittsburgh Pirates Hall of Fame. They announced this yesterday, along with Jim Leland and Manny Sanguin.
Bobby Bonilla in there?
Not in this class, I don't think. You're talking about in the Pirates Hall of Fame? I'd have to check. I'm not certain, but those are the 2024 inductees. That ceremony will happen on August 24th. So it'll be really, obviously, Barry Bonds started his career with the Pirates. He was drafted by them in the first round in 85.
Player.
Absolutely.
If you were just going to look at his career in a Pirates uniform and without the speculation of steroids or PEDs, dude was a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, if you just take his career up to, what was that, 91?
Yeah.
When that speculation began?
Yes, before.
If you just stop it when with the first, I guess, believed time where he utilized, where he juiced or what have you, he's a Hall of Famer then.
When he wasn't swole.
Yeah, and so it makes sense. He was fantastic with the Pirates and early on in his career. So yeah, shout out to Barry Bonds making a Hall of Fame, even if it still remains to be seen and it feels unlikely that he makes the Baseball Hall of Fame. As we continue to get you your headlines here on the Get Right, apparently the Big Ten is going to air some Friday night games. So obviously Saturday is the day of college football, especially with the big programs. You know, some of the mid-major, or not even, we won't call them mid-major, but I guess what would previously be called Group of Five, whatever we are going to call them in the new iteration of college football, they'll play during the week, whether it's Tuesday or Wednesday or what have you. Well, Friday nights, which are typically, I mean, college has often left that open for high school football. Mm-hmm. They're going to try, step into that area as the Big Ten will air 9 Friday night games this season on Fox. 12 different teams will play in these, but yeah, we're seeing the schedule stretch, not just in NFL football where they're playing all over the week. Now college football trying to play over more these days.
This is so disrespectful. They are student athletes. They might have tests that day. What about their grades?
Yeah, since when has the NCAA cared about their grades? I mean, I can make the argument that at the very earliest, or at the very latest, the 80s, once that TV contract kicked in, once they started doing that they were just like, we do not care.
Whenever there's something like that, and they talk about adding games and TV and playoffs, and I always bring stuff like that up because there's always these I don't know how to put it, but other than say traditionalists or whatever, but they're student athletes. And they have to worry about their bucks, and they should not get paid. Like, yeah, right.
Yeah,
then stop taking the TV money. Just take the gate revenue.
It makes it very evident that it's tough, and that what they're primarily at school to do is play football. And in this instance, it'll be Friday nights, and 9 times in this upcoming season for the Big Ten.
Did you hear about the quarterback? I think he's at Georgia now.
Yeah, Jaden Rashada. Yeah, he's
suing the Florida.
Yes,
University of Florida.
In fact, I think we'll delve into that tomorrow even more. But yeah, man,
NIL
with the NIL and the ways that things are promised, like that's another thing is that this is not a regulated industry. So whatever promises are made, if they're not kept up, what space or what recourse do these players have? And apparently, right now they're trying to see if their recourse can be had. For
those who don't know that story, the quick version is this: he signed with Florida with promises of NIL money over millions of dollars.
13.5, I believe, is the number.
And then all of a sudden, it never happened. He goes to Georgia and he said, "By the way, where my money?" And they're trying to work it out.
Well, he actually transferred to Arizona State, and now this year he'll be transferring and playing in Georgia. So he's bounced around a little bit, but I think it speaks to the further professionalization, or at least the full actualization of the professionalization.
You better get a handle on
college sports in particular.
Wild, Wild West, man.
College football. Another headline on this evening, we found out earlier this week that Caitlin Clark has signed yet another partnership deal, this time with Wilson. So Wilson, the sporting goods company that makes the basketballs for the NBA and the WNBA, Caitlin Clark has signed a partnership, multi-year partnership, in fact. And so she's going to get a signature basketball collection.
Why not?
So there will be, signature basketballs made and a line of Caitlin Clark basketballs, which is interesting. But this will make her the first athlete since Michael Jordan to do something similar with the brand. So yeah, I think that's wild. There's going to be I think there's three different brands of basketball where they're going to have the Threes Up iteration that pays homage to Caitlin's iconic celebration after she knocks down a three. There's the Record Breaker, which acknowledges her trailblazing achievement and records that she shattered along the way, and the Crowd Maestro, which speaks to her energizing the crowd. How does that do that? It's just, I guess, it's a patch on the basketball of sorts, but that's the thing that they're doing. So shout out to Caitlin Clark, who people said that she was not going to be able to make more money when she went pro. There she is.
Let me tell you, this is good news for all women basketball players. The reason why is no different than when Tiger Woods first turned pro and got on the PGA Tour. Everybody started making money because guess what? The TV revenue started kicking in and the endorsements started kicking in. And guess what? They started recognizing the other golfers that Tiger was going against, not just the older ones like Jack Nicklaus, but some of the other ones that you never heard of before. All I can say is this. It's a good thing when she gets the attention right now, and then the others, the Angel Reeses and all the rest of them, suddenly start making money as well. Because right now, the WNBA, it's a higher profile league, more talented league. But guess what? They only make $75,000 per average a year. I mean, it's a shame. They're not paid anywhere near NBA players, and that's because they don't have the same butts and seats or the eyeballs on TV screens. But guess what? Now they're going to start getting that because Caitlin Clark, everybody was watching her in the NCAA tournament the last couple of years, and they're following the stories against like the LSU women, the South Carolina women, the UConn women in the past, and now the eyes are there, and they're going to get that money.
Yeah, and I mean, that is the hope. I know that the first 3 games of the season that were nationally televised have done some pretty big numbers, bigger than had been done prior. And I'm not just talking about Caitlin Clark games either.
Yeah.
2 of them, I believe, had featured Caitlin Clark. But yeah, you're seeing the WNBA continue to trend up.
And if you don't see the games themselves, you see the commercials, then that tells you that the games are being noticed because they don't spend money on the commercials if you don't see the games.
Some other things, another headline, shout out to Dallas billionaire Albert Huddleston, who was featured on the G-Bag Nation earlier today. He is hosting Live Golf at his Merideau Golf Course for an event in September.
Carrollton.
Yes, in Carrollton. And so, this is obviously another big-time golf event happening in the Metroplex where DFW continues to be a hub for all things sports, and in this instance, golf as well. But you're going to see a live tournament here as well. So that's going to be interesting to see that kind of clash of the golf worlds as you have a PGA Tour here as well.
You got the Byron Nelson, you got the Colonial, and now you got the Live Tour. This event, I think it's with teams, and it's like $50 million at stake. It's like a big one.
Yep. And so, I'd encourage you to go back, check out the G-Bag Nation interview with Mr. Huddleston earlier today as he talked about this event, this Live Golf event that'd be coming to Carrollton in the greater DFW
in September.
area.
I think it's like September 22nd.
It is.
It's the same weekend the Cowboys are playing the Baltimore Ravens.
Interesting.
And a new skinny Lamar Jackson.
That's right. 205 was what Diana Rossini, although there have been reports that he looks more agile. I don't know that he needed to be even more agile. I don't know, but I guess that's not up to me to decide. We'll see how that looks once he hits the field. Those are some of your headlines.
Can we tease one other headline?
Please do.
Tomorrow night at the American Airlines Center.
That's right. Tomorrow night, American Airlines Center, your Stars will begin their Western Conference Finals series with the Edmonton Oilers. I need to make sure I have the time on the puck drop there correctly because I was about to say the time. I was like, do you know that for certain? I believe that the puck drop will happen, and I can't even find it. 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. Puck drop
Get
at
ready.
the AAC.
Wear your sweaters, represent, make some noise, blow the doors off the barn.
That's right.
All those things, man.
When it comes to news, we still only have heard day-to-day designations for Rope Hintz and Yanni Hakanpää from Pete DeBoer. Obviously, it'd be great if you could get Rope Hintz back into the fold, continue to really utilize the fullness of the depth of the Dallas Stars against what is a top-heavy Edmonton Oilers team. But regardless, we'll see if the Stars can match the Mavs and win Game 1 of their Western Conference Finals series. It's the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. My name is Reginald Atatula. He is a 3-time Hall of Famer. His name is Chris Arnold. And whenever I have an opportunity to do a show with him, I try and make sure we get some CA Stories Confidential.
How about this? I've seen a lot of great Michael Jordan moments. The greatest Michael Jordan shot I've ever seen. That's next on 105.3 The Fan.
You may not think what we
Back to the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. The upcoming segment is brought to you by Frankel & Frankel. If you've been injured in a car or truck wreck, call Frankel first. 214 or 817-333-3333. With Frankel & Frankel, there is never an out-of-pocket cost. They only get paid when you win. Frankel & Frankel, the go-to car and truck wreck attorneys in Dallas.
The Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. Reginald Datatula here with you alongside the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Thanks for rolling with us on this Wednesday evening in the Metroplex, where I got some good and some bad news for you. The bad news, the Rangers fall again to the Philadelphia Phillies in Philadelphia earlier today. 11-4 was the final. Errors galore. Dane Dunning looked all right, but only went 3 1/3. The bullpen was not good at all. And unfortunately, they fall to 24-26. But the Seattle Mariners and the Astros both lost today, so no ground lost, no ground gained by the Astros. They go again tomorrow, 12:05 p.m. right here on 105.3 The Fan, 11:30 pregame. The good news: your Dallas Mavericks win Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals in Minnesota against in Minneapolis against the Minnesota Timberwolves. 108-105. Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, both were fantastic in the game. And they managed to kind of fluster Anthony Edwards. Things that you love to see. They'll be back at it on Friday, 7:30 p.m. But right now, time to do a little CA Stories Confidential.
Thanks, Reg. Thanks, Ross. Thanks to all the Tolos for allowing me to share some of these stories over all this long career covering sports and entertainment. There's no me without you. And thank y'all for allowing me to have a wonderful, interesting career. We're going to keep it NBA. Let's go back. I'm thinking about Michael Jordan because, a lot of people saying, oh, Anthony Edwards might be the next Michael Jordan. Stop all that. Let him be Anthony Edwards. He's 22. He does have some tendencies. He's got some tendencies, but let him evolve into what he's going to be.
Sure, absolutely.
With that being said, I teased going into the commercial break, the greatest shot I've ever seen Michael Jordan make. I've been fortunate enough over all these years to cover him in games, covering him in all-star games, hang out with him in Las Vegas.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hanging out with him in Vegas sound like fun.
Yeah.
Or like the complete opposite of fun, depending on what the
it wasn't like I was hanging out with him day and night.
Okay.
He was playing cards. I was just watching.
Okay, yeah.
I couldn't sit down and play poker with him.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I imagine if you're doing something competitive with him, that could get really. I just imagine imagine trying to play with Mike on the golf course, because Mike is the type of guy where either he wins or y'all keep playing until he wins.
That's exactly the way he is. He's got a competitive problem. He's very competitive. In fact, after one of the NBA Finals, I kid you not, he flew straight down to Austin. It's like, what is he doing in Austin the next day after they won the championship? He had a golf simulator in his house, and there's a golf course downtown Austin. I forget the name of the golf course, but it's right near downtown. And he was actually playing on that golf course. That's how competitive he is. But I was going to tell you the greatest shot I've ever seen him make in person. And I've seen him score a lot of points. And by the way, 877-881-1053, that's the Frankel and Frankel Injury Attorneys text line. What was your favorite Michael Jordan shot?
Okay.
One of the greatest, and again, I was at the flu game where he scored 38 points. It's not about how many points in the overall game, just one shot he made that I saw in person, not on TV, not in highlights, not on YouTube. I saw in person. And it's up there because they still run it all the time. You'll see in certain different NBA finals highlights or whatever, they'll show it. But I'll tell you a couple of others that get close to that shot. I was there in Chicago when they had the NBA All-Star Weekend, and back when the NBA Slam Dunk Contest was really, really good, and Michael Jordan won it over Dominique Wilkins. It was crazy. I was there, and back then you didn't have cell phones. You didn't have cameras in your phone, even if you had a walkie-talkie type cell phone.
Right.
I had a disposable camera. And
nice.
I'm there baseline, and I was taking all these pictures. Michael Jordan on his dunks, I was taking pictures of the dunks. Jordan's dunks and Dominique's dunk. He won the contest, and it was back and forth, and it was close. He won the dunk contest when he took off. First of all, he started at the other end of the court and dribbled from one baseline all the way to the free throw line. And then he just took off and cocked it behind his ear one time and slammed it. And it brought the house down. It was absolutely amazing. And I got the pictures that I took from my little Instamatic throwaway camera, and I'll show them to you sometime. But that wasn't the best. That was just a hint of things to come. I have to say, the greatest shot I've ever seen him take was not even a dunk. It was not a jump shot.
Okay.
It was not a three. It was simply amazing. This is what he did. What had happened was,
yes,
they're playing the Lakers in the NBA Finals.
91.
Yes.
Okay, I know where we're going.
In Chicago Stadium. Over the years, because I've been covering the finals since 1986. So this is like my fifth or sixth finals that I had covered at that point. 86 or 84. I think it was 84. Yep, since 84. 86, 84. It's been a while. So he's retired now, but the director of NBA communications back then is Brian McIntyre. And over those years, he and I became pretty good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's only so much room on a press table at courtside.
Yes.
Back then, the writers always would get all those seats. And they didn't have like a back row behind.
Sure, it was just
that front row. There might have been 10 seats at that table. Everybody else, you're up a little higher. They have like in Chicago Stadium, it was a hockey press box. And that's where they had everybody.
So they had y'all up there.
Oh, yeah. And then you had media from all over the world. So there was an overflow, too.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I've been covering the finals for years. And I had this little thing that I knew would always happen. A lot of these writers, by the time you got to the fourth quarter, they were on a deadline.
So they were finishing up their story as best they could.
In the back in the press room. And they watched the rest of the game on a monitor, on a TV screen. And again, this is, the late 80s and 1990s. So that press row, that press row on the court, there are about 2 or 3 seats always empty all the time over the years. And I would just sneak on down there, wait till like third quarter, see which riders got up and left. And I knew they weren't coming back.
Mm-hmm.
and I'd go down there and I'd sit.
There you go.
So in this particular game, I can't remember which game of the finals it was. It wasn't the game. It wasn't the championship game. I mean, it wasn't the final game when they beat the Lakers. And by the way, Magic Johnson had a hamstring injury, and so it wasn't as competitive as you would have thought. But they did go through the Lakers and win that thing. In this game, though, he's driving to the basket, and I'll never forget this because I'm sitting at the press box and sitting behind me, not on the front row, besides, because the players, the benches on each side, and the way the Chicago Stadium was set up was benches on each side.
And it was game 2.
Okay, game 2.
Mm-hmm.
And behind me was like the front row for all the celebrities, right? Behind all the way, the second row all the way around, except for the baseline. Sitting behind me was Spike Lee and Denzel Washington.
Ooh.
And they were shooting the movie Malcolm X at the time.
Yeah.
And Spike had an X cap on. And they're sitting right behind me. Michael gets the ball. He's driving to the basket. He's going to dunk on somebody's pumpkin head. And the head he's going to dunk on was former Maverick great Sam Perkins, who happens to be my fraternity brother. He's going up on Sam, and then he switches hands, and he lays it in off the glass. And it was like, oh, my God. And you see it live. And back then, the Chicago Stadium didn't have a replay scoreboard.
Yeah, they had just like
live.
the pixels.
They just had pixels.
Yeah, with just like a light board.
It was like, are you kidding me? Because you knew he went way up, driving the middle of the lane, and then all of a sudden, Sam's right there, and he just switches hands and kisses it off the glass, and it goes in, and it just brought the house down. I mean, it's in Chicago anyway. It just brought the house down. I turned around to Spike Lee, who had been making commercials with Michael Jordan under this character that Spike used to play in this movie called She's Gotta Have It, Mars Blackman.
Yes, sir.
And he didn't call Michael Jordan MJ. He didn't call him Air. He called him Money.
That's right.
And he would always say, Money. Is it the shoes? Is it the shoes? Is it the shoes? I turned around to Spike Lee. I said, was it the shoes? He said, no, Money. That was not the shoes. That was Air Jordan. And he was just grinning. After the game, you know, everybody's asking Mike about that shot, and he's like, I just saw a replay of it. Yeah, that's one of the best ones. I didn't think about it, just did it on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
I go to Sam, because Sam's in the Lakers locker room. I said, Sam, your boy done clowned you. Sam and Michael Jordan were teammates in North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
They won the national championship together. They were on the cover of Sports Illustrated together. They were drafted in the same draft. Good friends to this day. I said, Sam. And like I said, Sam's a captain. He's my fraternity brother, and I've been knowing him since the Mavericks drafted him. And he's playing for the Lakers in those couple of years. I said, Sam, your boy just clowned you. He said, no, he had to do that. I said, what? He said he knew good damn well I was going to block that S because he tried that dunk on me in practice for years. He said he knew good well he wasn't going to dunk on me. He had to do that. And he was mad because they lost the game.
Oh, I mean, I would be too.
But Sam, to this day, he said, oh, yeah, I caused that. He said, I'll take credit for it. I caused it. That is the greatest shot I've ever seen Michael Jordan take because it was just so spontaneous. And again, Sam said, he wasn't going to dunk on me. I know his moves. I knew what he was going to try to do. He had to adjust on the fly, but that just shows you the greatness of Michael Jordan. And
absolutely.
Like I said, it was just, and I saw the replays like long after the game, maybe on the 10 o'clock news or something in Chicago. I was like, this is just absolutely insane. And I've seen, on TV or whatever, the highlights, him hitting a three on the Cleveland Cavaliers and eliminating them. And I was at the game in Portland where he was just raining threes. And so he just shrugged his shoulders. Remember, he just shrugged his shoulders.
Yes.
And in that series in particular, because it was against Portland, he was basically, somebody had said, you know what? I think Clyde Drexler is as good as Michael Jordan. And it's like, oh, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. So, yeah, that was the greatest. I'm looking to see on the text line if anybody had a one that they liked as well or better. But let's see. 806 says when he was 40, he hit the crazy fadeaway jumper over a young Kobe Bryant in the All-Star game. Should have been the game winner. Incredible shot. Actually, I was at that game too. That was down in San Antonio. This is the craziest thing. Michael Jordan's playing for the Washington Wizards. He didn't shoot it over Kobe. But this was the kicker on that All-Star game. Michael Jordan, he was playing for the Wizards. He didn't have he couldn't turn it on every game like he used to.
Yeah, that was a really interesting point in time because he had a lot of injuries with the legs.
He should have stayed retired. I was shocked he came out of retirement.
But I feel like, I did a little bit of reading. It feels like there's probably about 5-6 games where he turned it on.
Yes, exactly. He could still turn it on, but it wasn't like every game, and he couldn't save them. And by the way, he was so mad at the Wizards because he thought they pimped him,
Yeah.
But back to that All-Star game, everybody knew this is probably his last All-Star game.
Yeah.
So in this game, I'll never forget this because this is how cold Kobe's hero is Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And everybody knows he basically imitated Michael Jordan on everything.
And I always found that to be amazing. And I knocked Kobe for a little bit, but I took the time and think about it. It's like the reason why we can knock him for that is because he did such a good job at emulating him.
Yes.
Everybody was trying to be Michael Jordan.
He stuck his tongue out on everything. Even when Kobe used to be number 8, he came back not as number 23, but 24.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wanted to be better than Michael Jordan, but he wanted to do it better. But it was the same kind of style. Well,
and he was close. He played a lot like
Mike. In
Mike.
that All-Star game, I'll never forget this. Michael Jordan was flashing back to, oh, wow, this is Michael Jordan. And everybody like, oh, my God, East wins this game. He's the MVP. He hits the shot that gives them the lead, and there was seconds left. And they get the ball down to the end of the court, clock's running out, and I forget who it was. Kobe's about to jack up a 3 because that was the only way you could tie the game.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody fouled him. I forgot who it was. It's like, no, let Kobe jack up that 3, and if he misses, he misses.
Right.
Kobe goes to the free throw line, and everybody's like, he loves Michael Jordan. He's not going to make all 3. Nails the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Nails the second one.
Sure.
Closes his eyes. Nails the third one, and it stares down everybody.
Yeah,
I don't like Kobe's cold.
They had to
that
learn about
Mamba
Kobe
mentality.
Bryant.
And then, of course, the West win the game in overtime, and Jordan was not the MVP. And I was like, man, that would have been so storybook. But Kobe's like, no, not tonight.
No.
He's competitive like Jordan.
Yeah,
he said Jordan wouldn't have done. He said, I did exactly what Mike would have done.
Exactly. He loves him some Jordan, but I don't think there's anything that he loves more than winning, particularly when it comes to basketball.
Exactly. So there's your CA Stories Confidential, the greatest shot I ever saw Michael Jordan make in person.
Yeah, a lot of love for the shot in Cleveland that you described. Where he just hangs in the air at the free throw line.
And then he just fist pumps.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that put them into the NBA Finals. I want to say that.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
And then there was also the shot in Utah that he knocked down. That was
the game winner. And by the way, I was at that, and they say, oh, he pushed out. Let me tell you something. In this day and age, that was not a push out. And again, especially back then when it was a very physical game.
Yeah.
I was standing next to Bill Walton. We were standing in the tunnel area in Utah. And we just looked at each other and goes, that's the winner. People forget that the Jazz had another chance. They got the possession of the ball back, and John Stockton missed.
Man, what a career Michael Jordan had.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun shots, but of course, according to CA, none greater than the time that he switched hands midair against the Lakers in the 91
Was it the
finals.
shoes? The shoes? No money. It was the man.
Always love getting some CA Stories Confidential here on the Get Right on 105.3 The Fan. We've had a blast this evening. We got one more segment to go until we leave you. And that segment's called The Final Call. We'll do it next on The Fan.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
Get right here on 105.3 The Fan. Reginald Atatula here with you alongside Chris Arnold, the three-time Hall of Famer. That's right. I should have given you that room. My bad. Thanks to Ross Levinsky hanging out with us all evening, making us sound good. And you, the Tolos, for keeping us company and listening and getting involved. Text line, Twitch, YouTube, all of you. We appreciate you. Robert in New Mexico, who said he really enjoys Chris's story time. CA Stories,
thanks, man.
Confidential. It's always a blast when you give us a chance to, live vicariously through you. So we appreciate you doing that. And we also greatly appreciate the Dallas Mavericks getting a big-time win in their first game of the Western Conference Finals, 108-105. Luka Doncic, 33 points. Kyrie Irving, 30 points, and a big-time win, breaking some new ground for Jason Kidd as a head coach for the Dallas Mavericks. Hadn't won a game one in a series as the head coach of the Mavericks, and so there you go. It's been done. Now all that's left, 3 more wins so that they can book a spot in the NBA Finals.
They now have home court advantage, and I'm going to tell you something. This thing is going to be a war. Don't think, they're supposed to sweep them. No. It'd be nice if they did, but this thing's going to be tough. I just know I'm glad they won this one. I'm glad they stole it up there and make Minnesota have to make some adjustments.
So, obviously, one of the big things about it, Kyrie Irving, I mentioned he scored 30, 24 of those, as you mentioned, in the first half. He came out gunning, and it wasn't just like pulling up. I'll kind of talk about Kyrie sometimes because he's a great difficult shot maker, but he takes a lot of difficult shots. That wasn't even necessarily the case in this. He took some difficult shots, but he did a lot of just driving by guys, using that speed and finishing ability in this game. He looked like a man on the mission, and apparently there was a little bit of motivation there. He was asked on Inside the NBA after this game on TNT about, Anthony Edwards after their Game 7, saying that I'm going to go guard Kyrie, like really very eagerly setting up that challenge. This is Kyrie talking a little bit about that.
Sorry, my bad. Hey, Kyrie, you at home minding your business the other night.
Yeah, what about it?
You with your beautiful family just chilling, probably having a nice meal, and then the young fella says, I got Kyrie. And you said, excuse me?
Yeah.
And he said it again. He said, I got Kyrie.
Yeah.
That's the most aggressive you've been in a long time.
Yes, sir.
I know that had to irk you a little bit.
Well, use it as a motivation. When I was sitting at home and I saw it, I was like, it's just a nod of respect, and then also I knew what type of game it was going to be for Game 1 and also for the rest of the series. So you're right. I was at home with my family watching Game 7.
You just minding your own business.
And then Ant comes out and says, I got Kyrie, but also that's a no fear mentality, and that's why we love Ant. So coming out tonight, I knew that he was going to pressure me a little bit, but I knew that they were coming off a Game 7, grueling game, so their legs were biting them a little bit tonight. So hopefully Game 2 they come back and they settle a little bit more, but we'll be prepared.
That's a great answer, full of wisdom.
He obviously is in a good place. And then Kyrie, look, man, I thought it found it kind of interesting. He called Charles sir, and I'm like, all right, you old enough to talk to him on a certain level, but no, there was a lot of respect there, and you could tell he's always been, but he very much is a student of the game and appreciates it. And it's cool that he gave that humble answer.
Yeah, he said it's a sign of respect, and Ant said he wanted me, so it gave me some motivation. He said all the right. He didn't give Ant any ammo. In other words, he wasn't like one of these guys. He's always giving thoughtful answers.
Yeah, he's a very thoughtful dude, and he always has been. Especially when he hasn't been kind of defiant and pushed back, and it feels like he's in a real comfortable place, which is great for the Mavs and Mavs fans because it's produced in a big way on the court as well. So shout out to Kyrie in particular and to the Mavs in general getting a big Game 1 win. We were talking about Inside the NBA there, as that's what that was the broadcast that they were having, and TNT will have a majority of this Western Conference Finals. I believe that we are going to have an ABC one on the weekend. Is that right?
Yeah, we might have one on Sunday.
Okay.
But I think if it's not, I think it's all TNT, and this is.
I thought it was TNT had the West, ESPN had the East. I think that's
what
the
I
way
was
this
thinking
split.
too.
Okay.
So even Sunday 7:00, it's still probably gonna be TNT.
I believe so. But with that being the case, the crew that they have, obviously the guys that you know and love: Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny the Jet Smith, Charles Barkley. But then also Draymond Green has joined them for this, and apparently the crowd at the Target Center not really fond of the man that choked out their starting center.
I remember. Earlier this year.
Meantime, we've mentioned how long it's been, Draymond, that since we've had the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals. Goes back to two.
Yeah, Draymond sucks.
That is it. And thankfully, that was the words
that they suspended.
That was the words that they came up with, as opposed to other words that they might have used. But yes, they have not forgotten the time that Draymond Green went.
That was just this past October. Put it like this: he had to go through chokeout rehab, anger issues.
Yeah,
it didn't make any sense at all what he was doing. But he did it.
Well, they don't have to forget it there as fans, and they clearly haven't. But I imagine that they're going to be happy just at the idea that Draymond Green is there as an analyst and their guys are playing in the series. But yeah, the people in Minnesota did not forget at all.
He could be the villain.
Oh, and he loves it. He relishes
he does, boy.
But there you go. I mean, again, very fun game to watch. Excited.
I'm glad the refs let them play.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see if that continues throughout the series.
See if they import in certain guys.
I mean, I imagine that it is. Tony Brothers and particularly Scott Foster are considered like some of the best referees by the NBA from their side. And no matter what the fans believe and think of that, they're going to be seen in a playoff series. So I guess brace yourselves if that is something that you feel is like a big deal in these things. You're going to see them, and the Mavericks. Jason Kidd has already said they're going to have to be prepared to adjust for all those things, and adjustments are going to be necessary. This, as you mentioned, I know that someone on the text line said, "Nah, Chris, Mavs in 4." Hey, talk that talk while you have it right now. But I think everybody is, or I think like a lot of people are still anticipating a long series here.
I don't care how long I don't care if it's in 4. I just want them to get 4. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, and that's the one step closer to that. So, hey, shout out to y'all hanging out with us on this evening. Tomorrow, full slate of shows.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, we will be back. And then also Rangers baseball. 12:05 first pitch, 11:30 a.m. pregame right here on your home of the Rangers 105.3 The Fan. For Chris Arnold, for Ross Lebensky, I'm Reginald Atatula. I appreciate y'all hanging out. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Be easy.
The Fan is on YouTube, Twitch, smart speakers, or any mobile device.